As a child, Eren fell victim to a curse laid upon him by a malevolent deity. A winged figure tricked him and stripped away everything he cherished most. From that day forward, his body began to transform into that of a dragon. He consumed wandering spirits of darkness, growing stronger with each, all to one day strike down the one who wronged him. Only vengeance could quench the fire of regret that burned inside him. In his realm, magical beasts roamed freely, known as mystical creatures. Some were reshaped by the gods into human-like guardians, protectors of mankind. Yet others embodied pure wickedness, sworn servants of the demon god. Long ago, a band of hunters entered a forest in search of prey. But what they sought were not animals. They hunted humans. They slew innocents only to plunder their belongings. Still, this hunt strayed from their usual cruelty. They stumbled upon the corpses of wolves. Among them lay an enormous wolf, unlike any they had seen. Beside its body sat Eren, motionless, and the hunters assumed him dead, eager to loot him. Suddenly, Ruby the lizard, Eren's loyal companion, sank its fangs into one of the rogues. One hunter lifted his blade, ready to end the creature. But before the strike fell, Eren severed the man's armed hand in an instant. He followed with a blow to the attacker's face. Shock swept through the hunters. Weapons were raised at once, preparing for combat. Eren warned them their efforts would be useless. They ignored him, refusing to retreat. With his axe in hand, Eren charged first into the fray. Any who blocked him left the fight missing limbs. Then the crossbowman took aim. 3 bolts struck his back at once. Rage erupted within him, and the dragon's essence flared like a storm. Terrified, the hunters believed a demon god stood before them in human guise. Yet moments later, his fearsome aura vanished. The power faded because he had been drained fighting the colossal wolf. Overwhelmed, he was finally captured. Dragged alongside the wolf's carcass, Eren was hauled to their settlement. The hunters boasted that he was the demon god reborn, but their leader doubted the claim. He questioned why a supposed demon would slay beasts. Eren simply replied that he had been starving. He advised them to burn the giant wolf's corpse, but they ignored him. Whispers had long spread of a demonic creature that feasted on the dead. Yet Eren knew the villagers were blind to the truth. A raven cut across the sky overhead. In a blink, blood dripped from its talons onto the leader's shoulder. The wolf's body stirred and rose, hunting anew. It was no mere beast, but a minion of the demon god. Soon, cries of alarm echoed through the settlement. A horned, deer-like monster approached with a pack of wolves. Ordinary soldiers fell quickly before the powerful creatures. Their defenses crumbled, though the real danger had yet to arrive. Eren stepped forth to confront the antlered beast. His body had already taken its draconic shape, prepared for war. He intended to consume the corrupted beast and steal its strength. The horned monster bellowed. At its call, forest animals poured in from all sides. Enraged, they threw themselves at Eren as though bewitched. But he ripped through them without pause. In mere moments, the corrupted horde lay dead. The horned foe shifted into a spectral form. In a frenzy, it lunged at Eren. 2 overwhelming forces collided with thunderous fury. After several fierce exchanges, Eren gained the upper hand. His weakened opponent collapsed before him. Shedding his dragon guise, Eren returned to human form. He raised his weapon to deliver the final strike. But then he saw a blonde girl, Nadia, the living spirit of nature itself. The monstrous image of the deer faded away. Eren realized she had never acted of her own accord. In that moment, a raven struck him from behind. This very bird had enslaved Nadia's mind. The beast revealed itself, shifting into a human-like form. It had been shadowing Eren since he entered its domain. Eren cared nothing for its schemes. His sole desire was to obliterate this embodiment of evil. The raven dissolved into a ghostly shape. Its sinister gift was the resurrection of corpses. Every fallen body nearby stirred and rose again. Now they marched to the will of the demon god's servant. The undead legion swarmed Eren from every side. Spears and fangs pierced his flesh. The raven pressed forward to end him. Seeing Eren's tremendous strength, it plotted to seize his body. But destiny denied that ambition. The dragon's fury erupted once more. With crushing might, Eren hurled himself at the fiend. His fangs tore the raven's body apart. The struggle raged until nothing remained but a dark stain of blood. Nadia regained awareness. Fear seized her as Eren approached. She recalled the winged figure who had appeared before she lost control. Eren understood. It was the very incarnation he longed to destroy. Nadia, too, had fallen under its sway. Eren introduced himself as a descendant of the Black Dragon. He had spent his life roaming the lands, devouring demons. Yet his true mission was to slay the winged entity called Remus. Nadia still struggled to grasp his words. Worn by everything that had happened, she collapsed. Her mind plunged into a nightmare. She fled from a servant of the demon god. Blood spread like an endless sea around her. She stumbled and fell as the demon caught her. Yet she did not die. Suddenly she saw mountains of human corpses. Their blood stained her hands. Then the winged figure appeared before her. She woke abruptly. The nightmare dissolved in an instant. A cheerful rabbit, Whitepaw, greeted her warmly. During her slumber, Aran had gathered the remains of their foes. Ruby the lizard unleashed fire and reduced them to ash. Whitepaw, bound by pact with Eren, had overseen this battle. Now Eren demanded his due reward for victory. Though his words were harsh, Whitepaw was long accustomed to them. What startled her was that Nadia shared the same nature as Eren. Until then, she had believed he was the only one of his kind. Impatient, Eren pressed Whitepaw once more. The rabbit drew forth her enchanted watch and pressed a hidden switch. The ground crumbled, dropping them into a vast cavern below. Nadia braced for pain, but the landing proved soft. Before them spread the radiant city of cafes, greatest in the southern lands. At its heart stood the sacred white lotus tree. Whitepaw formally introduced herself to Nadia. She belonged to Rabbit's Paws, the continent's largest intelligence network, and Eren had been her comrade for years. Still confused, Nadia asked why she had been brought there. Eren chose to show her rather than explain. Together they headed into the city. Along the way, Nadia asked about the winged foe Eren sought. He told her of a monster who masqueraded as a god, this being granted immense power to those it favored. They entered the slave market. Within were captives of every age and race. Even mystical creatures were shackled here. Nadia wondered what such cruelty had to do with the winged incarnation. Suddenly, Eren pushed her into a dungeon. He explained that all these slaves were meant as offerings. The ritual would take place atop the white lotus tree. Every prisoner here would be sacrificed. Nadia, too, would serve as bait. For Eren believed live prey would lure the incarnation out. Nadia begged him to reconsider. She condemned his use of innocence to pursue revenge, but he only declared that vengeance demanded blood. Then he walked away. Nadia could not bring herself to accept it. Whitepaw reminded her of the truth. While enslaved by the demon god, she had slain countless innocents. She had no right to resent Eren or the rabbit. They fought only to destroy the common enemy, the winged incarnation. Soon, the ritual at the White Lotus Temple would begin. As part of it, men and mystical beasts would clash in an arena. Eren himself would step into that fight, for this too was part of his greater plan. Whitepaw played her role in setting everything into motion. By now, the winged sentinels had already escorted the captives to the site of sacrifice. Eren's strategy was to claim victory in the arena and seize a branch from the sacred white lotus tree. With that relic in hand, he would soon face the winged incarnation itself. He could have drawn the enemy out through carnage, but Eren knew he must not cross that line. At any moment, he risked losing himself to the dragon's fury. That was the very reason he devised this calculated plan. The time to act had arrived. The hero stepped into the arena. Meanwhile, the other combatants had already formed their defenses. A leopard-shaped mystical beast crouched, ready to spring. Then, to everyone's astonishment, Eren appeared. Unarmored, he strode fearlessly toward the predator. The crowd fell silent, breath caught in their throats. The beast lunged at the reckless youth, but Eren sliced through its paw in one swift strike. Gasps and disbelief rippled through the onlookers. Never before had a mere human brought down a mystical beast unaided. Yet here, before their eyes, Eren displayed his might. The wellspring of his strength was his hatred for the winged incarnation. At the same time, the captives reached the summit of the White Lotus. There they were greeted by the temple's master. The winged incarnation had taken residence in the sacred tree, receiving offerings of blood. Anyone who delivered a living sacrifice earned the right to face a beast in the arena. Whoever triumphed would gain a lotus branch, immense power, and the title of Winged Sentinel. For this reason, Whitepaw and Eren had chosen Nadia as the sacrifice. Through her, the hero could infiltrate the White Lotus Temple. Nadia reeled when she discovered their scheme. She demanded to know why Eren was so desperate to slay the winged incarnation. But the rabbit withheld that truth. All she knew was that if vengeance itself had form, it would be Eren. The temple's master introduced himself to the slaves as Balzac. He spoke of salvation awaiting them, claiming he would grant it. He painted the ritual of sacrifice as mercy and a blessing. A young woman dared to plead for her sister's release. Balzac praised her compassion and promised reward. But the moment she believed him, her head burst apart. Nadia fought to contain her fury. Balzac preached further, describing death as release from fear and grief. Soon, he said, all of them would pass into the next world. Dark power began to leak from Nadia's body. Behind her, onlookers saw the image of a massive deer skull. Rage consumed her mind still further. Balzac realized then that the sacrificed deer beast had bonded with her. Nadia was shrouded in black energy. The captives recoiled in terror. The aura was as dreadful as a demon's. As she felt herself slipping, Nadia recalled the innocents she had slain under the demon god's sway. Then a blonde-haired boy called out to her. He urged her not to surrender. His words gave her the will to resist her fury. She awakened the power of the world tree, and shoots burst upward from the earth. The roots ensnared the winged guards, and coiled around the captives, shielding them within a living dome. Nadia braced herself to defend the innocent. Yet Balzac remained unmoved. He was certain the embodiment of nature could not threaten him. Nadia shaped the tree's shoots into a mighty hammer. She struck at the villain with all her strength. Balzac welcomed the blow with a chilling grin. The thunder of the impact resounded across the temple and arena alike. Only Eren grasped the true meaning of the sound. Nadia's hammer shattered in her hands. Suddenly, a towering cage manifested beside her. Balzac had summoned his loyal servant. It was an enormous bird-like abomination. The blond boy warned Nadia to stay alert, but already 2 jagged spikes pierced her body. The monstrous creature, crowned with skulls and armored with spikes, advanced to fight. Meanwhile, Eren struck the final blow to the mystical leopard. As planned, he emerged victorious. At once, the winged guards entered the arena. They presented him with the coveted prize, a white lotus branch. But he was not the only one who desired it. Another warrior named Burn had also sought the branch. Though events had derailed, he did not falter. Burn swore he would claim the relic at any cost. Nadia's wounds worsened rapidly. Still, she refused to surrender. Balzac resumed his chant of merciful sacrifice. He tried to sway Nadia with false promises, exploiting despair. But she knew the difference between mercy and cold-blooded murder. Her fury surged again, black energy swirling around her. Balzac unleashed his own counterattack. The sacred tree's roots pierced into Nadia's protective dome. Sharp spires skewered the captives inside. The sacrifice was complete. The same roots impaled the bird-like monster, as Balzac's laughter echoed through the temple. Crimson energy coursed through the white lotus roots. It flowed into the servant, feeding its strength. It was the power of the dead. That energy alone sustained the sacred tree. As long as the current flowed, Balzac would remain immortal. Strengthened by the slaughter, he ensnared Nadia with the tree's tendrils. Convinced of victory, he toyed with her instead of finishing the fight. He lingered, savoring her helplessness. But then the temple doors burst open. The severed head of a winged god flew past Balzac. Eren stormed in like a beast unchained. He rammed the white lotus branch straight into Balzac's eye. Arriving just in time, the hero ensured Nadia's survival. Balzac could scarcely believe anyone had triumphed in the arena. He had been certain none could ever reach the temple. But Aaron ignored his words, intent only on the true winged incarnation. He knew Balzac was nothing but a fraud. Rage twisted the pretender's face. Unable to endure the insult, he began transforming into a hawk. Aaron seethed as well, yearning to reach his hated foe at last. Meanwhile, Byrne and his fighters hunted for Aaron. He intended to seize the lotus branch to fulfill his design, but the hero was nowhere in sight. When Byrne climbed to the tree's summit, he found Aaron already there. Their goals aligned to slay the winged incarnation. Nadia remained confused. She had believed Balzac was the enemy Aaron sought, but he swiftly corrected her. The true incarnation bore 3 pairs of radiant wings. That mark was the source of its name. Balzac possessed only stunted wings and hollow laughter. Aaron sneered that the impostor's only gift was chatter. That taunt snapped Balzac's restraint. He unleashed his winged guards against the hero. Before the clash, Aaron freed Nadia and ordered her to flee. She spotted a blonde boy and girl lying amid the shattered branches of the world tree. Strangely, they had been spared from Balzac's ritual. As Aaron cut down the guards, Nadia rushed to aid the children. Then the monstrous bird returned to the fight. It hurled a barrage of spires at the hero. But Aaron, now fully transformed into a dragon, evaded the strike. He lunged at the giant creature without hesitation. The battle was drenched in blood. With one crushing blow, Aaron tore off its head, but Balzac struck him from behind. The villain admitted Aaron's power was formidable. He resolved to reveal his true strength, unleashing his ability. Yet Aaron seized his arm, jaws poised to crush his skull. At the last instant, Balzac kicked him away. The chase began anew. Balzac dodged death by a hair. To escape, he leapt into the air. As expected, Aaron pursued him upward. Then Balzac slashed off his foe's arm. Agony tore from Aaron's throat. But within moments, his limb regenerated. Balzac froze in shock. Never had he witnessed such rapid healing. Aaron renewed his assault. Balzac shielded himself with the white lotus roots. Yet they failed to block the dragon's claws. Aaron cleaved the impostor in 2, but the battle was not yet finished. The headless avian monster rose and stumbled toward its master. In seconds, Balzac's remains fused with the beast's body. Even that could not halt Aaron's fury. Balzac reveled in his warped new strength, but almost instantly he shrieked in pain under Aaron's crushing strike. Desperate, he lashed out with the sacred tree's roots. They coiled around Aaron's legs. Spikes erupted, seeking to rip him apart. But even caught, the dragon forced his way free. He hurled himself at Balzac once more. His body restored, Aaron's regeneration astounded all who witnessed it. The ability left a deep impression on his foe. Balzac resolved to unleash every ounce of his might. The sacred roots chased the dragon relentlessly. Then Aaron discerned the truth. Balzac's life was bound to the tree itself. No matter the wound, he would endure so long as the lotus fed him. Thus, Aaron vowed to destroy the plant first. He struck a devastating blow against the temple roof. The structure began to collapse around them. In the chaos, Balzac snared him once more. But then the phantom curse within Aaron burst loose. Dark wings unfurled from his back. He wished that all the torment Balzac had sown would consume him in ashes. The curse's power surged outward. The souls of the slain rushed upon their murderer. Corpses rained down through the shattered ceiling, falling onto Balzac. They clawed and bit into him with savage hunger. The sheer number of the dead drowned him in their fury. By sheer will, Balzac tore free. He immediately sought out a living victim. Spotting Nadia, he lunged toward her. But then the sky split open with a crack. From the rift descended the mighty Becaron. He was a loyal servant of the winged incarnation. Just as Balzac neared Nadia, Becaron slammed him into the ground. The blow pinned the villain in place. Nadia stood bewildered by the sudden turn. A heartbeat later, Becaron knelt. He saluted his master, the winged incarnation. That figure was none other than the blonde boy who had comforted Nadia against Balzac. Before her eyes, the child's body grew and transformed into a man. Meanwhile, Whitepaw relayed news of the battle to her organization's base. She noted the rift in the heavens an interdimensional portal. From this, she deduced that Rem had come because Bekaron arrived. Nadia trembled under the presence of such overwhelming might. The incarnation, now named Rem, approached Balzac. The two were long acquainted. It was Rem who had stripped Balzac of his wings. The punishment was for losing himself to hollow glory. Once Balzac had adored the incarnation, but now his heart boiled with hatred. Rem declared that only the worthy would ever ascend with wings. For wings, Balzac had slain 1,000,000 souls and bred abominations. Instead of reward, Rem burned him into nothingness. Only a white lotus branch remained, but it was a counterfeit, carrying the essence of the tree of paradise. Suddenly, Rem remembered Nadia and turned his gaze on her. From atop a heap of corpses, Eren witnessed it all. His mind flashed back to the first time he encountered Rem. He had been only a boy, yet he still recalled Rem's vow to reach the land of the gods. Rem had sworn to press forward, even if the whole world opposed him. Back then, Eren never imagined his family would be destroyed. Recalling the agony of his past, fury overtook him. The dragon readied himself to battle his sworn foe. He unleashed a mighty strike at the winged incarnation, but Bekaron intercepted, shielding his master. Eren's heart burned hotter with vengeance. He swore to annihilate any who blocked his path. First among them was Bekaron. Their clash ignited a brutal struggle. Neither yielded ground. Meanwhile, Rem's gaze lingered solely on Nadia. Just as his power neared her, Burns suddenly struck. Rem recognized the intruder instantly. Calmly, he advised Burn to submit. But his eyes shifted back to the dragon, pressing Bekaron harder and harder. Eren's wrath swelled until it consumed him. His hatred erupted in full. Wings burst forth. He transformed into a colossal black dragon. All who beheld him stood frozen, save for Rem. For the incarnation, meeting Azida Haka again was no surprise. In his subconscious, Eren had already faced this dragon. The ancient beast had urged him to surrender to fury and destroy the thief of his past. Eren had accepted. Thus, the cursed spirit of the black dragon was released. Bekaron realized his foe had entered a berserker frenzy, yet still did not retreat. The black dragon unleashed torrents of fire. Bekaron countered with thunderous lightning. Their clash detonated with catastrophic force. Rem shielded himself with his radiant wings. Bekaron stood firm, even at risk of being charred to ash. Meanwhile, Burn refused to relent in his assault on Rem. But the incarnation struck him first. Enraged, Burn began to transform. Yet again, Rem's overwhelming power crushed him. Then Rem turned his focus back to Nadia. He saw Nadia shivering, her body seized by fear. In that instant, she realized she had encountered this man before. It was when she regained her senses amid heaps of innocent corpses. Rem had appeared then too. Now he claimed Nadia was chosen to become the sacred tree, proven by the branch's resonance. That branch was no mere ornament, but an artifact granting divine might. Rem pulled one such branch from the corpse of Balzac's bird-like monster. He declared his intention to cross into other realms. With the artifact's help, he revived his brother, a boy called Ziz. This child was forged from innumerable sacrificed lives. His eyes glowed red with bloodlust. Meanwhile, Becheron's battle against Azida Haka raged on. Suddenly, the black dragon released a scream that shook the sky. Then he soared upward, higher and higher. He prepared to finish the fight with one devastating strike. Azida Haka summoned the celestial fire jade, hurling its overwhelming energy straight at the winged incarnation. Rem, unshaken, did not flinch as the inferno closed in. He trusted his power would easily endure it. Calmly, he unleashed a counterattack of blinding light. The hero was struck down, and the white lotus crumbled into ruin. Whitepaw immediately relayed the disaster to her information guild. Eren's long path of vengeance had begun long before, rooted in childhood. Once in the desert, he saw coyotes chasing down a lone lizard. At the last moment, he hurled himself in and saved it. His axe flew true, striking one of the predators. Then he dealt the killing blow. The rest scattered into the sands. From that day on, the lizard shadowed him wherever he went. At first, Eren resented it and tried to chase it off. In answer, the creature spat out fire. The boy could hardly believe his eyes. But in that same moment he felt danger close in. A colossal mystical rhinoceros loomed before him. Eren ran with everything he had to escape. A steep cliff appeared nearby. Without hesitation he leapt down. The beast stopped at the ledge, unable to follow. Yet it still did not leave. Eren threatened to show it the true might of a black dragon's heir. Watching quietly from not far away was Rem. He stepped forward to intervene. With nothing but his gaze, he drove the beast back. Grateful, Eren brought the stranger to his tribe. His sister met them, expressing her worries about her brother wandering such perilous lands. Eren introduced her to Rem. He too worried for her as she carried an incurable illness. He tried to reassure her gently. For his kindness, Rem was welcomed warmly in the tribe. During their talk, the chieftain asked why he had come to the Red Desert. Rem explained that he was a scholar. He studied distant lands, forgotten myths, and strange beasts. His journeys had spanned many years in search of knowledge. When he heard that Hanwha's incarnation lived in the desert, he rushed there. His true quarry was the black dragon Azidahaka. 6 incarnations across the world had been blessed with godlike gifts. Azidahaka was the first, vast and unmatched in power, a demon both feared and worshipped. After a week, Rem prepared a tonic for Eren's sister. He assured her it would ease her suffering. Impressed by this generosity, Eren offered to guide him further. His sister, as always, urged him to be careful. That day, unease gripped the villagers. Soon after, Eren and Rem reached a river. They caught fish and shared a meal. Conversation flowed easily. Rem learned Eren often hunted in secret, so his sister wouldn't worry. Their parents had died of sickness when he was just a baby. Since then, she had raised him. In turn, he hunted to provide for her through winter. Not wanting to linger on the painful subject, Eren asked Rem about his research. Rem admitted progress had been slim. He suspected the tribe kept secrets. The people were heirs of the Black Dragon. They told tales of invaders attacking long ago. Azidahaka had burned them all with her flames. That was all they would say. Rem revealed his true aim, to seek the gods' treasures, the sources of each incarnation's might. Whoever gathered all 6 would wield unimaginable power. Fascinated, Eren blurted that he knew of one such relic. The words slipped out before he realized. It was the tribe's deepest secret. Rem pressed him with questions, and Eren shared what his sister had once told him. After crushing the invaders, the Black Dragon's fury did not fade. Madness consumed her, turning the desert to ash. To restrain herself, she gave one scale to her descendants. Parting with her source of strength, she fell into slumber. A temple was built over her rest, called the Dragon's Crevice. The tribe's bravest guarded it, ensuring no thief touched the scale. Eren warned he would never reveal its location, but Rem schemed to exploit his innocence. He coaxed him into traveling elsewhere with him. Along the way, he formed his plan. On a mountain path, he claimed Eren's sister's sickness came from the Black Dragon's curse. Azidahaka, he said, was a servant of the demon god, spreading agony. He blamed her for the parents' deaths and the sister's fate. Eren believed him. Rem handed him a sacred flower, promising it could break the curse. If placed near the tribe's relic, it would cure her. Eren knew it meant breaking sacred law. But Rem left the choice to him, confident the boy would choose as he wished. That night, Eren never returned home. His sister noticed his absence. Looking outside, she saw a towering beam of light erupt from the dragon's crevice. Earlier, Eren had led Rem to the temple. The guards challenged the stranger fiercely. Rem cut them down with ease. Behind him came Eren, clutching the sacred flower. His heart burned only with hope of curing his sister. Inside, Rem slew the rest of the guardians. Soon they reached the relic itself. A laugh of triumph escaped Rem's lips. Before him lay the final godly treasure, the Black Dragon's scale. Ruby the Lizard stayed at Eren's side. She had sensed danger from the start, though could not warn him. At last, Eren hesitated, unsure if this would save his sister. Then Rem admitted his deceit. He seized the boy, forcing the flower to touch the scale. The blossom absorbed its sacred energy. Light erupted in a pillar that pierced the sky. It was this his sister had seen. An earthquake followed. The black dragon stirred, her scale disturbed. The ground split open as she rose from her tomb. She stormed toward the temple to punish the thief of divine power. The union of flower and scale obliterated Aaron's arms. He could only watch in despair at the ruin his choice had caused. Rem exulted, holding the flower infused with all 6 gods' essence. With it, he could now cross between worlds, as he had always dreamed. To complete his ascension, he drove the stalk into his chest. The flower sprouted, flooding him with divine strength. Then Azida Haka arrived. She demanded the name of the thief who had touched her scale. Rem gave his name. His body warped, sprouting wings. He became the incarnation. Aaron stared in confusion. Above, a monster with 3 pairs of wings soared. Rem acted as though victory was already his, for the black dragon, weakened by the stolen scale, had lost much of her strength. He struck first at the guardian. Azida Haka roared with greater fury. She bathed him in flames of rage. Their clash escalated. She rose skyward, hurling meteors of fire at him. He shattered them with radiant light. Her claws lashed next, red-hot spikes launched at him, but he answered with blades of light. They slashed into her, wounding deeply. The blinding flash was seen across the desert. The whole tribe witnessed it. No one slept that night. With agony, Aaron staggered upright. Nearby, Azida Haka lay mortally wounded. Rem relished his triumph. Laughing, he tore the black dragon's heart away. Then he ascended skyward. Aaron knelt in prayer, begging forgiveness. He pleaded with Azida Haka to understand his reason, but she would not hear him. With her last breath, she cursed him. Her body turned to ash. Then an evil god appeared. A monster with wings of flame soared overhead. Aaron saw it fly toward his village. He ran desperately to warn his sister, but the dragon's spirit had already incinerated the tribe. None survived. The spirit returned, swallowing him whole, but his body absorbed the curse instead. Agony racked every part of him. His heart felt as though it would split apart. A beast of fury made its home within him. From then on, death and ruin shadowed his every step. Many years later, he finally faced his sworn foe. Yet at the White Lotus Temple, he was defeated. At that moment, Rem prepared to rejoin his pantheon. Becheron opened a portal in space, but Nadia stalled the incarnation with a single question. From Ananta, she had learned Rem was no god but a pretender. The tale of Azida Haka proved it. She had no memories from before she met him. She asked if she was the same as the dragon. Rem recalled the boy, Aaron, whose betrayal had led him to the last treasure. But he gave Nadia no answer, only a promise they would meet again. Enemies were everywhere, countless in number. An entire order, Levitine, had risen to oppose him. Among its members was Byrne, the warrior from cafes who sought his end. At its head stood the queen, Regelsa. Nadia and Byrne met with her soon after the temple's battle. Byrne invited Nadia's group to join Levitine. She suspected his true interest was in Aaron's cursed power. Whitepaw had vanished without trace. Nadia could have left as well, yet her own curiosity compelled her. She longed to meet Regelsa, sovereign of the fallen Valkyrie kingdom, a nation of warrior women. Regelsa greeted Byrne warmly. He brought grim news, his defeat at the hands of the winged incarnation. Yet he vowed to continue the struggle. He also reported another faction seeking Rem's destruction. Nadia's care had mended Byrne's wounds, so he welcomed her company. From then on, they called Aaron the Barbarian. His injuries were grave, and a physician now kept constant watch over him. Beside him lay another ordinary girl who had also been tended to. Regelsa welcomed the addition of these new companions. Yet what intrigued her most was the reason behind their resolve. Nadia confessed she would aid Levitine if they revealed the truth about the branch within her chest. Then a magical wolf named Lupa interrupted their talk. She claimed she had smelled the stench of the winged incarnation on Nadia the moment she entered. The branch inside her was in fact one of Rem's cursed artifacts, and its resonance had only grown stronger since her encounter with him. Regelsa saw fortune in this revelation. If Rem truly hunted for the deer, then here was a chance to ensnare him. Suddenly, news of an emergency reached the queen. Aaron had lost control and rampaged through the living quarters. While unconscious, he drifted into a dream, or rather into memories of his darkest past. Again, he felt the evil spirit gnaw at his soul. His mind clouded, his body no longer his own. He transformed into a blazing dragon. Seeing flames consume the settlement, he rushed there in anguish. But all life had already been extinguished. Aran cried out in agony, too great to bear. Slowly, the image of the dragon faded away. What remained were his restored arms. The curse had rebuilt what was lost. He wandered, searching desperately for his sister. Soon he found her charred remains and collapsed before her. Lifting her body, he let out a guttural scream of grief. At that moment, an agent of Rabbit's Paws appeared. She revealed the emblem that could lead him to the winged incarnation. Aaron awoke in a strange place. Tears welled as the nightmare clung to him. A mystical mouse sat quietly nearby. Jolting up, he coughed blood from his nose and mouth. He tried to rise, but fell again. Too weak to move, yet unwilling to waste time. The mouse darted from the room. Aaron staggered outside. To his surprise, the entire settlement lay beneath the earth. After only a few steps, female warriors blocked his way. He demanded passage. Just then, a man named Al appeared. On his hand, Aaron recognized a familiar emblem. It was the mark of the winged incarnation. He grabbed Al's shoulder, demanding answers about Rem. But the man reacted violently. His blade flashed toward Aaron's face. He warned him not to make another rash move. Aaron didn't hesitate. He swung his fist in retaliation. Dodging just in time, Al realized the boy's frightening strength. Though injured, Aaron radiated a power that could not be ignored. He pressed Al again about the emblem's connection to Rem. But instead of words, Al answered with a duel. His sword cut through the air, but Aaron slipped past each strike. Blow after blow drove Aaron into a dead end. With no choice, he raised his arms to defend. They shifted into draconic claws. He launched himself at his opponent. Al evaded the onslaught of strikes. Then, seizing the moment, he countered. His sword pierced Aran's chest. But the boy did not fall. The evil spirit burst forth instead. Al leapt back in alarm. The transformation surged into full dragon form. Panic spread through the onlookers. Even Al himself trembled at the sight. Yet Levitine would not leave him unchecked. Queen Regelsa herself arrived. She struck the dragon, wounding him. She declared she would slay him if he did not stop. Nadia pleaded for his life. But Regelsa's first duty was the safety of her people. Then the dragon did something unthinkable. He clawed at his own wound, ripping it wider. The sight was ghastly. At last, the spirit of the curse receded. Aaron collapsed, human once more. He was thrown into a cell under guard. Nadia, too, was placed under watch. Meanwhile, Levitine convened to decide their fate. 4 commanders and the queen assembled. Lupa, embodiment of savagery, demanded Aran's death. Owl, 3rd commander and master of swordsmanship, had another view. He wished to wield Aran's strength for their cause. Tarkan, embodiment of success and 2nd in rank, remained neutral. Byrne, embodiment of valor and 1st commander, argued for alliance. He had seen with his own eyes the depth of Aran's hatred toward Rem. But Lupa would not be swayed. She fought to prove their bond with him was perilous. She could not accept the queen favoring Byrne's stance. Owl, too, backed Byrne. He still remembered the terror of Aran's transformation. At last, Regelsa delivered her verdict. She summoned Whitepaw into the hall. The rabbit presented herself. With her came Rachel, the mystical mouse. Owl brightened at Rachel's arrival. Her absence had worried him deeply. Before Byrne's return, Whitepaw had already briefed Regelsa. She recounted all that had transpired since. Thus, the queen placed her trust in the rabbit. Whitepaw proposed Aran's strength in return for Levitane's alliance with the Information Guild. Meanwhile, Blackpaw slipped into Aaron's cell. She freed him. Just as Whitepaw presented him as vengeance incarnate, Aaron walked into the chamber. Shock rippled through the leaders. He was supposed to be chained. But Ruby the Lizard was most astonished. Rachel had brought her into the chamber, and she sprinted to her master the instant she saw him. Aaron declared that he alone would slay the winged incarnation. Lupa readied herself to strike him down. She had no idea Blackpaw had hypnotized the guard to set him free. Yet Regelsa restrained her. She pointed to the scars carved deep into his flesh. They told the story of a merciless life. Never had the queen seen anything like it. Whitepaw began to speak on Aran's behalf, but he cut her short, reminding her he was not hers to command. Blackpaw appeared then. She soothed the boy's rage. Against all odds, she succeeded. Regelsa explained that her commanders were united only by their hatred of Rem. Owl had once belonged to a clan loyal to him, wiped out to the last. Since then, he bore the emblem scarred onto his arm as an oath of vengeance. That was why Regelsa welcomed him into Levitine. The queen asked Aaron what power made him believe he could fell Rem. He answered that he carried the curse of the dark spirits. By devouring magical beasts, he grew stronger without limit. Each hunt granted him new skills, and thus alliance with him meant power. Lupa saw this arrogance as another warning. Regelsa, however, felt differently. His confidence intrigued her. She declared Levitine would stand with vengeance incarnate. At that moment, Becheron returned to Rem's pantheon. Rem and his followers celebrated the birth of Ziz's new incarnation. The child delighted in devouring mystical prey. But Rem had yet another scheme that day. Becheron opened a rift in space. Beyond it yawned a gorge swarming with evil spirits. Rem addressed the creatures gathered below. He reminded them the gods had cast them aside. None could ever return to their original forms. But he stood apart from such laws. He alone would inherit the horizon that reached the realm of the gods, and he offered the fiends one chance to prove their worth. To the strongest he promised wings. The monsters reacted instantly. Each longed to shed its twisted shape. They hurled themselves into battle, just as Rem intended. He laughed as they tore one another apart for the right to ascend. Meanwhile, in Levitine, Regelsa summoned Nadia to the Great Hall. The embodiment of nature marveled at how quickly Aaron had recovered. Only then did she realize it was the rabbit's doing. In the chamber, only Byrne and the queen remained. Regelsa announced her decision to accept both Nadia and Aaron into Levitine, but Aaron reminded them he would never swear allegiance. At best, it was a temporary pact. Nadia demanded answers about the branch embedded in her chest. They explained it was part of the world tree. Through it, the winged incarnation could twist beasts into new incarnations. This was what had happened atop the White Lotus when Ziz appeared. The branch could reshape even the foulest creature into divine form. Nadia, too, had been such a creature once, and now the branch bound her to Rem. With this power, he could even corrupt a god's incarnation into a spirit of evil. Regelsa herself had witnessed it. It was how Valkyrie had fallen. Their guardian had become an evil spirit by Rem's hand. Aaron refused to believe it. Nadia seemed incapable of harming even an insect. Surely she could not be Rem's pawn. But Byrne countered that her uniqueness was exactly why she mattered. She might be the closest link to the horizon Rem sought. That rift appeared whenever a world tree was born. Through it, Rem intended to breach the domain of the gods. To achieve it, he planted incarnations as seedlings of new world trees. The branch's power was so immense most beings collapsed beneath it. Only a rare few could endure. To unravel Rem's designs, Regelsa needed both Nadia and Aaron. Together they would face the royal guardian, twisted into a spirit of darkness. In open council, she declared the mission, Operation Valkyrie Liberation. Owl and Lupa's units would march first, carving a path for the army. Byrne and Tarkan would remain in Levitine, defending the civilians relocated to hidden bastions. 3 days earlier, Whitepaw had explained all this to Nadia. Bringing Aaron into Levitine had always been part of her plan. The only surprise was Nadia's choice to stay. Levitine was the mightiest force resisting the winged incarnation. For Aaron, they would be invaluable allies. His gift was growing stronger by consuming evil spirits. But if denied too long, he would lose himself to madness. Blackpaw, also of the Information Guild, used her hypnosis to restrain his curse. Yet the control could not hold forever. They had to find spirits quickly to sate his hunger. Since Nadia remained, Whitepaw offered her alliance. As part of it, she would be guaranteed safety. But Nadia refused. She would fight not for promises, but to prevent more human sacrifices. For her, opposing the winged incarnation was her own mission, and no pact was needed. Once agreement was settled, Whitepaw laid out the Queen's battle plan. Regelsa's aim was nothing less than reclaiming Valkyrie. At present, its meadows were guarded by an alicorn, the embodiment of immortality. That unicorn had once been one of the 6 primal incarnations defending the realm. But after encountering the winged incarnation, it had fallen into corruption and become a spirit of evil. Regelsa's campaign sought to slay the alicorn and uncover the truth about the branch. Aaron dismissed the mission as trivial. 3 days later, Levitine's army stood ready. Whitepaw opened a portal to ferry them into Valkyrie's scarred lands. Commanders Owl and Lupa rallied their troops for battle. Aran's patience snapped. He was itching to kill. A bloodlust surged through him as though he could slaughter anyone at will. The teleportation began. Lupa and Owl's detachments were first to emerge in Valkyrie's domain. Immediately, a grotesque horned beast barred their way. Nadia summoned shoots of the World Tree to lash and bind it. But the attack failed. Nature's embodiment fell in defeat. Then Aaron arrived. In a blur of speed, he annihilated the monster. The soldiers could do nothing but watch in awe. For now, the 3rd and 4th Commander's mission was to clear the field. They established their camp outside the Iron Forest. It was a long march still to the Valkyrie stronghold. To reach the castle, the army would traverse the forest and then cross the plain beyond. In ages past, spirits roamed these lands to guard the kingdom. But now they had all turned wicked. Undead horses rose as the first wave of foes. Whitepaw admitted it would have been safer to teleport nearer the castle, but her magic allowed only transport to the least dangerous point. Thus, Levitine had no choice but to hack through endless hordes. Aaron and Nadia's support would prove critical, yet Lupa sneered at the thought they were indispensable. Regelsa silenced doubts, ordering cooperation. Ruby the Lizard incinerated the first slain monster. All awaited the Queen's arrival. But Lupa's mind was consumed with thoughts of Aaron. Her resentment was plain for all to see. To her, his presence dishonored comrades who had fallen before. To her, true friendship meant entrusting one's life. She could not accept fighting beside someone so unknown. In Regelsa's absence, she confronted him. She accused him of being helpless without Blackpaw's control. He restrained himself in every battle to avoid madness, she said. A bomb waiting to explode. Aaron asked her to stop, but she pressed harder. Snarling, she threatened to tear him apart herself. Aaron's fury flared, barely restrained. Blackpaw arrived just in time, casting her hypnosis. Under its sway, Lupa relived her nightmare. Corpses piled high around her again. That was when she had first met Regelsa. Meanwhile, Blackpaw tried to calm Aaron, but he shoved her aside suddenly. A giant serpent had slithered close, and he leapt to save the rabbit. In a flash, the beast swallowed both him and Lupa. Owl shouted for warriors to strike. But just then, a herd of undead horses surged forward. Nadia called forth the World Tree's power. Its roots ripped through the earth, crippling the first wave. Soldiers rushed to engage. Meanwhile, the serpent dragged its captives deeper into the forest. Its muscles crushed them, Lupa fainting under the pressure. Digestive fluids began to burn their skin. Aaron's claws tore through the beast's flesh. He ripped its stomach open, clawing his way out. Lupa regained consciousness shortly after. Acid had eaten through her clothes. Aaron bore painful burns. Only then did she realize he had saved her. Yet his regeneration faltered, slow to heal. In that state, he could barely walk. Suddenly, he gripped her hand, pulling her close. More serpents slithered into the clearing. Dread coiled in his gut. He sensed a greater evil lurking near. But without Blackpaw, he dared not unleash his curse. They had to find another way out. Aaron left the decision to her. There was no time. Delay meant death. Lupa donned her battle form. She became a wolf and carried him on her back. The serpents pursued. She ripped through those that blocked her path. They burst free of the woods. But waiting there was a darker threat. Isane, Lord of Snakes, had come. Black serpents oozed from the earth at his command. Lupa seized Aran with her jaws and hurled him aside. Snakes sank their fangs into her neck. Aran, enraged, charged to her rescue. His claws shredded the reptiles. Her wolf form dissolved as she collapsed. Poison ravaged her body. Aran's rage could no longer be chained. Elsewhere, Levitine soldiers clashed with spirits. Owl dispatched the dead horses with ease. Nadia's roots tore through the horde. None suffered grave wounds. Yet Owl sensed something off. The horses seemed to be fleeing predators, like the serpent that devoured Aran and Lupa. There was no time to dwell. Blackpaw urged the troops to search for their comrade. Meanwhile, Aran tried to suck the venom from Lupa's wound. Isean mocked the attempt. It was venom from his double, fatal even to a demonic beast. Without a healer, she was doomed. Aran begged her to hold on. He swore he would kill Isean and bring her to Blackpaw. He loosed the curse. Seeing the dragon's aura, Isean realized his foe's identity. He summoned serpents in retaliation. Aran sliced through them like air. Isean reeled at his speed. Then Aran's strike shattered his serpent puppet. His claws slashed into the embodiment of blind faith himself. Isean transformed into a massive serpent and coiled around him. Through agony, Lupa forced herself upright. She saw Aran fighting to protect her, and she remembered Ragelsa. The queen had always been ready to die for her. That was comradeship. With newfound resolve, she donned her battle form again. She charged Isean, unafraid to give her life for her ally. One strike severed his hand. Another flurry left him slashed and bleeding. Exhausted, she collapsed. Before he could recover, Aran's curse engulfed him. Dark energy devoured the Snake Lord. The branch Rem had gifted him shattered. In desperation, he summoned a pterosaur. The beast carried him away to Valkyrie Castle's tower. Isean had failed to drive out the invaders. Aran devoured a fragment of his broken branch. Hunger for more nearly overwhelmed him. He barely kept the curse at bay. Just as his will faltered, Lupa spoke. Before fainting, she begged him to finish their mission. His craving to hunt the fleeing spirit maddened him. Wings sprouted from his back, but her words pulled him back from the brink. Her plea restored his clarity. Instead of pursuit, he used his wings to carry her. Nadia's healing restored Lupa. She awoke weak, yet alive. She stared at him, stunned, and called him an idiot. That he had beaten his curse to save her was unbelievable. He told her not to think of debts between them. She blushed with shame for her harshness, but said nothing. That night by the fire, Byrne thanked him for saving her. Aran reported meeting one of Rem's servants in the forest. The foe had failed to halt them and fled. The fragment he swallowed rooted inside him. Blackpaw noticed at once. His curse had steadied. She wondered aloud what would happen if he consumed an entire branch. Aran then revealed Isan's true rank, the 6th Sepharoth. That title belonged only to the strongest guardians of Rem. There were 10 in all, 5 disciples beneath 5 lieutenants. A single higher disciples might rival natural calamities. Isan's fall meant another would soon appear. Owl's suspicion was correct. The 2nd Sepharoth, embodiment of Conquest named Gon, had arrived at Valkyrie's tower. After Isan's failure, he took the task upon himself. Rem had known the queen's plans all along. A traitor lurked in Levitine's ranks, so he dispatched both Gon and the Snake Lord. Their mission: purge the invaders from Valkyrie's lands. A guard was already stationed there, the Alicorn, but one empowered with a flawed branch would not be enough. Becoron warned them of Aran. He had slain Balzac, and so must not be underestimated. Gon accepted with zeal. Isean pledged his aid. Yet he could not grasp why Rem sent the embodiment of Conquest himself, for Gon was the Sepharoth's mightiest shield, while Becoron was its unbreakable spear. Together they were unmatched. But Isean suspected Gon's loyalty was thin. A lesser Sepharoth could have sufficed. Why Rem chose Conquest remained a mystery. At the tower, Gon reinforced the Alicorn with an imperfect branch. The artifact's glow blazed across the land. He yearned to cross blades with Aran. Meanwhile, Levitane's army completed its march. Whitepaw teleported Regelsa and her forces into Valkyrie's pastures. The queen thanked her companions warmly. She gave special praise to Nadia and Aaron. Her vow to free Valkyrie rang clear. Whitepaw warned retreat would require 3 days of preparation. But Regelsa's resolve never wavered. She had already seen the glow rising from the castle. Blackpaw confirmed it. The light meant Rem had prepared his defenses. Still, Regelsa would not turn back. She would reclaim her homeland. To prove Valkyrie's fallen warriors had not died in vain. Her subjects roared their support. The march began. Only the rabbits remained at the rear. Their task was to hold open the escape route. Blackpaw felt uneasy knowing she couldn't keep an eye on Aaron. Yet the rabbits had already completed their main duty. To them, the campaign's outcome mattered little. Their only wish was for Aaron to grow stronger. Slowly but steadily, Levitine's forces advanced deeper into the pass. Working together, they crushed the giant serpents along the way. Still, Regelsa's heart was restless. Why had neither the evil spirits nor the alicorn shown themselves yet? Meanwhile, Aaron held back, conserving his strength for a greater foe, while Ruby burned back serpents with her flames. At last, Regelsa's army reached the kingdom's looming tower. There, the Snake Lord awaited them. Mere Levitine's finest archer loosed an arrow at once. But the enemy brushed the shot aside. Isin then summoned his pterosaur. The beast bore a strange capsule on its tail. At the queen's command, the army braced for impact. The creature dropped its load directly in their path. The mass of blood splattered across the ground. From it rose a monstrous, centaur-like abomination. Regelsa realized this was none other than the alicorn, once Valkyrie's guardian. The creature shrieked in an alien tongue. Then its body burst into a torrent of gore. The sticky flood engulfed Levitine's soldiers. Those who tried to pull comrades free were trapped as well. In moments, a unicorn-shaped horror emerged from the blood. It charged immediately, but Aaron stepped forward to face it head-on. Owl and Lupa flanked it from either side. Regelsa herself sought vengeance upon the traitor. Aaron leapt high, aiming a crushing strike. The alicorn unleashed its quasar skill. The black hole force tore through Aaron's body. Lupa rushed to avenge him, but the monster's tentacles lashed at her instead. Owl intervened. With swift precision, he severed the grotesque limbs and shielded her. Lupa struck again, refusing to relent. But the pterosaur's attack turned toward her. A wave of poison flew straight at her. At the last instant, Owl shoved her aside, taking the hit himself. The Snake Lord longed for her death. She had maimed him before. He ordered another poisonous assault. This time, Lupa did not falter. She took wolf form, shielding Owl with her body. Amid the clash, the pterosaur's wing was pierced. Archer Mir unleashed the power of wind, striking true. Isan raged with fury. He shifted fully into serpent form. But before he could strike, Owl and Lupa scaled the tower. The swordsman struck with mastery. Isan lost another arm, yet Owl's blade shattered under the strain. Below, warriors battled the grounded pterosaur. Nadia poured her energy into healing Aaron. Meanwhile, Regelsa faced the alicorn. Her soldiers formed a shield wall, but the unicorn scattered them like leaves. Regelsa countered with another strike. She called to Nadia to hurry. Without Aaron, victory was impossible. The queen then unleashed her ultimate art, the sword technique Fragarak. Its flames carved into the abomination. The unicorn's form shattered. In its place stood the alicorn's human shape. Yet the noble figure Regelsa once revered was gone. What remained was a corrupted husk. Regelsa raised her blade to end it, but froze when it spoke her name. Childhood memories flooded back. She had once climbed Valkyrie's tallest spire, fearless even then. The alicorn had been at her side. The young princess believed he would never leave her, and the immortal embodiment promised just that. Fate, however, had been cruel. His mind returned too late. He could not fathom why she now wore a warrior's garb. Looking upon his own form horrified him further. His last memory was of meeting the winged incarnation. The royal family had been slaughtered. Only Regelsa and a handful of servants survived. Rem had stolen the divine horn from him. The young princess had tried to resist, but Rem struck with the power of light. Her retainers died in an instant. She alone survived, scarred when her eye was burned. The alicorn's clarity slipped again. Rem's branch twisted him into a beast. Nadia whisked Regalsa away with world tree roots. She urged retreat, but Regalsa refused. She would slay the corrupted guardian. Meanwhile, Ruby rushed to Aaron's side. The little lizard longed to aid him. She merged her flames with his body. Aaron ignited with fire's might, ready to rejoin the fight. Her power rivaled Mir's arrows. He hurled a blazing sphere at the guardian. The alicorn countered with quasar. Two colossal forces collided, but flame overwhelmed the void. Aaron charged, striking again. The fire seared the monster to its core. Nearly nothing but bones remained. Nadia moved in. World tree roots bound the weakened foe. Regalsa raised her sword for the final stroke. Its energy blazed skyward. Even then, she still thought of him as a friend. She prayed he would rest in peace as she struck. The shadow lifted from Valkyrie's lands. The guardian spirit appeared before Regalsa once more, radiant and gentle as she remembered. He apologized for his failure and pledged he had always wished to stand beside her. Tears streamed down her face. Nearby, Aaron marveled at Ruby's newfound strength. He had never imagined a lizard could hold such power. All that remained of the alicorn was an imperfect branch. The loss cut Regalsa deeply, yet she could not grieve. To honor their sacrifices, the war had to press on. The pterosaur fell, slain, and the soldiers rejoiced. But the Snake Lord still lived, and Lupa vowed not to spare him. Then Owl warned, the battle was far from done. A Sepharoth had entered the field. Gon, embodiment of Conquest, advanced on Aaron. He did not even slow as he plowed through the tower. His body smashed straight through the stone. Yet Aaron's fist stopped him cold. Owl's suspicions had proven right. Rem's top disciples had come. Aaron wondered if this one rivaled Becheron. The enemy boasted of certain victory, but Aaron had no intention of surrender. Their clash began. Gon felt the torrent of Aaron's power. He unleashed his art, destruction of the great mountain. The blow hurled Aaron back. He knew he would need Ruby again. The lizard lent her flames once more. Fire roared from the dragon's jaws, so fierce that Nadia and Regalsa shielded themselves with world tree roots. His strength now surpassed that of any incarnation. The flames struck Gon directly. None believed he could survive, yet he emerged unscathed, not a mark on him, and he grinned, pleased to have found a worthy foe. Ruby collapsed, her strength spent. Aaron released her power, unwilling to endanger her. He would fight alone now. His enemy assumed his battle form. A dragon faced an armadillo. Their might was evenly matched. Blow after blow brought no victor. Then Gon unleashed Meteor Strike. Aaron was wounded. His fury rose unchecked. He pummeled his foe with strike after strike. Yet the man's armored body showed no damage. Spent, Aaron faltered. The enemy's counter hurled him against the tower. Watching, Regalsa was awed by his regeneration. He feared no wound, his spirit unbroken. His draconic form embodied his will. Then her eyes fell on Nadia. She held up the branch that had twisted the alicorn. Meanwhile, Aaron studied his foe. Gon was a fortress of flesh and will. But even fortresses crumble at a weak point. Allies rushed to his side. Lupa dragged the Snake Lord to him as prey. Aaron's curse devoured it whole. He absorbed an entire branch. Power surged through him. He awakened the ability of sacrifice, altering his form anew. Venomous serpents now bent to his will. The second round began. Gon welcomed the challenge with a grin. Again he summoned Meteor Strike. Aaron countered with serpents to shield the blow. At the same time, he hurled Owl and Lupa clear of danger. Their duty shifted to evacuation of the wounded. Gon loomed above, preparing another strike. But Aaron's serpent seized him mid-air. The embodiment of Conquest was trapped. Aaron readied his decisive blow. He had already found the flaw. Gon had guarded his left eye throughout the battle. Aaron's next strike pierced it. For Gon, the moment felt hauntingly familiar. The scene mirrored his first clash with the winged incarnation. He had once roamed in search of a worthy rival. Battle was his very reason to live, his proof of supremacy, but fate led him to a formidable foe. The second Sepharoth came in, sent at Rem's command. Their battle had been fierce. Gon had emerged victorious. Only then did Rem himself appear, awed that Gon had slain Cayman, whom none else could defeat. The winged incarnation invited him to become his vassal, but Gon, ever hungry for the peak, challenged Rem instead. And right before Gehan's eyes, Rem struck down the second Sepharoth, Cayman, with a single blow. The winged incarnation then agreed to grant Gehan's wish. Using the light's power, Rem subdued the defiant warrior. Yet he had no intention of killing him. Instead, Rem sought to bind the embodiment of Conquest to his side. But Gehan yearned only for a true duel. To prove his supremacy, Rem seared out the armadillo's left eye. He also pierced his heart with a branch from the sacred tree. The memories ignited a storm of uncontrollable fury within Gehan. He unleashed his full might. His body began to transform. Armor hardened into metal, and cruel spikes erupted along his arms. This was the cursed gift of Rem's branch. Gehan fought Aron, but his mind clung to the desire of one day slaying Rem. Though enemies now, their true target was the same. Only their reasons differed, and so they could never stand together. Aron summoned his serpents, but Gehan's twisted war form swatted them aside with ease. He now towered over the dragon. Aron struck again, but a jagged spike caught him mid-lunge. Gehan tore open the dragon's maw. Aron retaliated by casting a net of serpents. While his foe struggled, Aron lunged and stabbed once more at the left eye. In this form, Conquest still had the upper hand, so Aron shed his skin as well. He reshaped into a serpentine dragon. The new form made his assault swifter. Meanwhile, the queen directed her people's evacuation. Lupa and Owl aided her. Nadia wrestled with the alicorn branch's latent power. It resonated violently with the shard in her chest. Its strength was overwhelming. Any soul too weak to wield it would fall into madness. Nadia strained with every ounce of will to claim it. She pleaded silently to the fallen guardian for his blessing, and at last she prevailed. In her hands formed a spear that could pierce any armor. At that moment, Aron grappled Gehan in place. All Nadia had to do was cast the weapon. She gathered her resolve and hurled the spear. But Gehan dodged, and the lance struck Aron instead. Conquest believed his triumph assured. Yet the dragon did not perish. He emerged reborn. The alicorn's horn fused into his body. With blinding speed, he drove his strike into Gehan's eye, then unleashed the quasar. The black hole's devastation tore through Conquest, beyond repair. Gehan admitted defeat, yet satisfaction lingered on his face. Aron endured the agony of embers burning into fire, and Gehan found solace knowing those flames would one day consume the greatest wings. That he too would live on, part of Aran's curse. The spirit of Azida Haka absorbed the embodiment of Conquest. Within his mind, Aron spoke with the Black Dragon. Between them was struck a pact. Azida Haka would lend him her vengeance, but in return, his body would be hers. Aron was exhausted to the bone, yet he knew this path could not be abandoned. After absorbing Gehan, he collapsed. He woke half a day later, with Ruby keeping watch. The moment he stirred, the lizard scurried out of the chamber. Aron felt warmth in his chest and knew it was her doing. Meanwhile, Levitine's warriors gathered their fallen for cremation. Less than half the army still lived. Lupa mourned the losses bitterly. Seeing Aron, Nadia rushed to him. She sensed the aura of his curse had grown immensely. No incarnation could match him now, but Aron's mind lingered elsewhere. Ruby's hidden power troubled him. He resolved to confront her about it. Far away, Rem's court assembled. There arrived Leviah, first of the Sepharoth. The abyss made flesh. Lightning, third seat, stood already beside Becheron. Frost, fifth in rank, revealed the reason they had gathered: the death of Gehan. Madness, fourth seat Keisha, was struck with disbelief. Becheron declared vengeance must be had. Rage glowed in every gaze. He tore open a rift leading straight to Levitane's fortress. Lupa fretted over Aran's condition. She longed to speak to him, but Nadia urged her to let him rest. Alone with Ruby, Aaron remembered the beginning. The day he buried his sister remained seared into him. That day he swore to lay Rem's heart upon her grave. He wished it hadn't all been his fault. Only the thought of her kept his mind intact. Vengeance became his sole compass. It devoured every other feeling. Yet he now knew without Ruby he would never have endured. Rem's cruelty had made him despise every incarnation. He still wondered why his sister had to die instead of him. Rem and Azidahaka both had cursed his life with pain, and so he pressed on, clawing for vengeance. After Ruby shared her strength, he realized the truth. She too was an incarnation. The lizard revealed her human form. She had hidden it all her life, fearing his hatred. The fear brought her to tears. Aaron confessed that when he took the alicorn branch, something shifted. He saw memories the immortal once treasured, and he finally understood Ruby was his family. She had always stood beside him. He begged forgiveness for not seeing it sooner. The alicorn's branch carried sorrow and regret, feelings tied deeply to the queen. But Gahan's branch held only unending wrath, a mirror to his own soul. Both he and Gahan were beasts clawing at emptiness within. Seeing his grief, Ruby sought to soothe him. She vowed she would never leave his side. Aaron promised that once vengeance was his, he would bring her to his sister's grave. Meanwhile, rabbits returned from the warriors' pyres. They reported they could no longer teleport to the fortress. Whitepaw lacked the strength to breach combat zones. She could not cross where her life was imperiled. She suspected Levitine's stronghold was already under siege. She was right. Rem's forces had already arrived at the walls. Inside, a teacher calmly recounted the world's creation to the children. Once, there had been nothing, until a great wave shook the void. Space and time unfolded, birthing the horizon of the world. From it rose 6 primordial beings, life's blessings guided by a holy god, death and curses ruled by a dark god, magic's miracles woven by a god of sorcery, cycles and balance held by a god of witchcraft, war's discord carried by its own deity, and creation and destruction wrought by the god of machines. Together they birthed uncountable lives on earth. 5 granted prophecy, becoming the first incarnations. Each was endowed with divine power. The god of machines, unlike the others, forged a representative of his own, shaped like a flawless human. For ages, these first incarnations dwelt in harmony with mankind, until the winged incarnation emerged. He stole the divine treasures and slew the first prophets. Any who stood in his path perished. Hearing this, the children grew anxious for their queen. Byrne entered then, steadying their hearts. He declared his faith in Regalsa and her warriors. Among the children was Rachel, the mouse beast. Still too young, her powers had yet to awaken. Byrne assured her she would surpass even him one day, for incarnation's gifts passed to their offspring. But as the teacher spoke, Byrne's face darkened. Without a word, the commander left, haunted by thoughts of his son. The fortress alarms blared suddenly. Enemies were at the gate. Vor, embodiment of frost, stood before them. He conjured an ice storm. The path froze over. Then Mansi, 10th Sepharoth, charged forth. A mammoth's form thundered into the gates. Byrne commanded his people to arms. But as the beast reached the walls, Levitane's second commander struck. The giant was thrown back. Tarkhan braced himself. Vor, impatient, yielded the first assault to Mansi. Enraged, the mammoth returned for another charge. Enlarged by his skill, he smashed into Tarkhan. Yet Tarkhan remained unmoved, chosen of the god of war. His counterblow hurled Mansi aside. Byrne then joined the fray. His heart burned to face Frost, his own son. Once there had been the frozen northern wall. Long had it known peace between man and spirit. Until Byrne, famed across countless wars, arrived. The people feared the embodiment of valor. Only one woman saw the man beneath. Tosca, embodiment of snow, met him with compassion. Love bloomed between them. In time they bore a child, but the babe resembled a beast. They feared society's rejection. Then Rem appeared. He promised salvation through a branch. Byrne had no inkling of the cost. Now that very child stood mocking him. The polar bear pelt Vor was his mother's. Byrne's rage boiled over. He charged. Not even his own son would be allowed to defile Tosca's memory. Axe clashed with ice hammer, but Sepharoth's might overpowered him. Frost twisted Byrne's grief with cruel words. Tarkhan offered aid, but Byrne refused. This was his burden. Meanwhile, Rem's minions infiltrated the stronghold. They slaughtered Levitane's civilians, among them Manteo the Radiant Mantis, 9th seat, Arachne the Silent Weaver, 8th seat, and Keisha the Centipede of Madness, most savage of all. Civilians fled toward the hidden sanctuary. Guards urged them to hurry, but Rachel noticed dust falling from the ceiling. Then Keisha crawled forth. With her came Manteo and Arachne. The chaos at the gate filled Byrne with dread. The siege was but a diversion. As the truth dawned, Vor summoned his ice palace. 2 commanders were sealed inside. Tarkhan struck at the walls, but nothing broke. Only Frost's defeat could dispel it. Vor donned his bear form and lunged forward. Tarkhan intercepted. Every moment lost meant more civilian deaths. Frost flaunted both Rem's branch and 2 incarnations' strength. Tarkhan donned his war form, but Byrne's arrival shattered Vor's confidence. Valor's strike landed with crushing force. Fear crept into Frost at last. The 1st and 2nd commanders united against him. Meanwhile, Arachne and Manteo tore at the sanctuary gates. Civilians barely slipped inside in time, but Keisha grew impatient. She urged her comrades to slaughter the warriors arriving. The mantis and spider cut them down with ease. Then the centipede spat acid upon the gate. A hole began to form. Keisha offered the people a final bargain. Hand over the children's hearts and she would spare the rest. Panic seized them. One woman shouted for courage, refusing the monster's lie. She swore she'd never harm the children. Keisha shrieked with fury. Acid spewed toward the crowd. All froze in terror. Yet the acid never touched them. Rachel had awakened. Her power blocked it with conjured cheese. Though trembling with fear, she stood her ground. Keisha tired of the game. She warped into a fouler form still. Yet she recognized Rachel's resolve. It was the same devotion she bore for Rem, love. She named it so. Her monstrous visage horrified the child. Rachel wept under the pressure. Keisha lunged, tongue darting, but a red-haired woman shielded her. She took the mortal wound herself. Then Keisha seized her and dissolved her in acid. Something inside Rachel snapped. Grief turned to rage. Energy of an evil spirit flared within her. Keisha sensed it instantly. The mouse transformed into a merciless beast. She lunged, hacking off Keisha's hand and legs. And she pressed on, slashing the centipede again and again. Acid sprayed. But Rachel's conjurations shielded her. Maddened, Keisha blamed her comrades. Just then, a hammer of world tree roots crushed her. The Sepharoth reeled in shock. Owl and Regalsa struck the mantis and spider. The villains had not expected Levitane's elite. They should have been far away. But thanks to their pact with the rabbits, they had returned swiftly. Nadia stepped forward to soothe Rachel. She embraced the child, vowing none would harm her. She urged Rachel to release her fury, and Rachel obeyed. The dark aura dissipated, and she broke into tears. Nadia turned her eyes to the foes. Keisha shrieked in madness, promising to tear apart all before her. Nadia advanced. She knew the centipede was the butcher of this massacre, and Keisha did not deny it. Hatred welled inside Nadia. Karnan, the dark spirit, stirred awake within her. Keisha recognized the same aura she had felt from Rachel, malice that only evil spirits bore. She hated the way Nadia's eyes fixed on her. She readied to strike, but Nadia unleashed a wave of darkness that silenced her. Only then did Keisha understand the truth. Nadia carried the same power as Rem himself. In her memories, she had never slain anyone, but now she was ready. At the fortress gates, the battle raged. Frost knew he could not last much longer, so he resolved to act decisively. He summoned a storm of ice. While Tarkhan blocked the shards, Frost struck him. Then Sepharoth's blow landed upon Byrne. Valor clamped his teeth upon Frost's arm. Frost struggled, but Byrne held fast. Just as Frost readied a finishing strike, Tarkhan seized him. The war embodiment pinned him from behind. Then Aaron arrived. With searing fire, he shattered the ice palace. Lupa and Ruby stood at his side. Byrne warned that their foe was formidable, but Aaron showed no fear, and now even Lupa believed utterly in his strength. He had already conquered the second seat of the Sepharoth, so he was certain the fifth would fall as well. In that moment, Vor shifted into a massive polar bear and charged. Yet Aaron's triumph over Gon had left him with unbreakable armor, shielding him from harm. The hero counterattacked without hesitation. A single strike shattered Vor's form, forcing him out of his transformation. The Frost Incarnation seized the chance to summon Lord Becheron. A spatial rift tore open at once, and through it emerged the mightiest spear of all. At the same time, the centipede unleashed a cloud of venomous smoke. Seeing it, Arachne and Manteo quickly retreated to safer ground. Queen Regelsa raised Fragarak's power, shielding herself and Owl from the toxic haze. Only Nadia remained motionless. The fumes simply had no effect on her body. Keisha lashed out once more, but the blow failed to land. Instead, Nadia's counterstrike tore into the centipede's flesh. Realizing her poison was useless against nature's avatar, Keisha lunged with brute strength. Nadia shrouded her in darkness. Within the void, Keisha beheld a dreadful figure, the evil god Karnan. His gaping maw consumed part of her body. When the shadows lifted, Keisha saw her wounds and could not believe Nadia had bested her. The thought of defeat was unbearable. Then Owl stepped forward and drove a blade into Nadia's heart. The treachery was vile. At once, the queen was bombarded by a storm of mantis blades. While fending them off, Arachne struck and bound her. Regelsa demanded to know why Owl had betrayed them, but he only murmured an apology, promising she would one day understand. The queen was bewildered. Even now, she could see genuine hatred for the winged incarnation blazing in Owl's gaze. And indeed, that hatred was real. Owl had managed to trick even a queen famed for piercing insight. He would not have revealed himself had the centipede not been on the brink of death. His aim was to end things quickly. Yet Nadia began to rise. Owl's eyes widened in disbelief. He had pierced her heart. This should have been impossible. Towering over nature's vessel stood Karnan, the ancient evil god. The world tree's shoots, once verdant, now blackened and writhed. They surged upward at terrifying speed. Owl seized Keisha and fled. Before escaping, he cast one lingering look at Rachel. That child was dear to him, but he abandoned her nonetheless. Wings unfurled, Owl and the centipede vanished into the sky. Nadia's blackened shoots ensnared Arachne and Manteo. In moments, both were reduced to husks. Then Rem revealed himself before Karnan, who had overtaken Nadia's body. He had awaited this very moment. To breach the horizon of worlds, branches must bloom from the desires of their host. And Nadia's desires had grown dark. The winged incarnation offered her a flawless world, untouched by corruption. A realm they would govern together. United with Karnan, Nadia awakened in a strange domain. It was her own subconscious. She could not grasp why she was still alive. She recalled battling the centipede with clarity. She remembered, too, the instant her heart was pierced. A figure appeared from the void with the answer. She told Nadia she had belonged to neither the living nor the dead from the very start. Nadia had never known of her shadowed half. Unaware, she had yielded control to it. While her choices had always been driven by compassion, her darkness lingered unseen. But now the balance had shifted. Karnan, the first evil god, had claimed dominion. His tale stretched back to the age of myth. The absolute god of sorcery had granted him human form. He was among the first 6 incarnations to dwell in the great western forest. That name was Karnan. The native tribes revered him as their prophet. Karnan prayed for lasting peace and harmony. But such hopes were illusions. An age of bloodshed had dawned, and men slew one another. In those days, incarnations who defended their people were branded as merciless punishers. Then came an invasion of the western forest. Armored in gold, the intruders marched. They followed Leog, the incarnation of war. The forest clans united, and Karnan fought beside them. But their resistance crumbled. Wounded, Karnan demanded to know why such slaughter was done. Leog answered that it was destiny's decree. The incarnation of magic, Luna, had glimpsed the future. She foresaw this world's ruin. Leog concluded one of the 6 incarnations was to blame. Rather than perish, he chose to strike first and slay all possible threats. Karnan could not accept how a vague prophecy justified butchering innocents. Fury consumed his heart. The hunger to kill smothered every other feeling. The incarnation of witchcraft's image vanished, and Karnan became a monster. He slew Leog, the war incarnation. Then Rem appeared. He seized the divine relic of the fallen warlord, and he reached for Karnan's treasure as well. Karnan realized then Rem was the destroyer Luna had foreseen. He was the one destined to bring about the world's end. Karnan was overcome with regret for his choices. An incarnation consumed by human malice was now an evil god. Karnan surrendered his divine horn to Rem willingly, but they forged a pact. If Rem gathered all the treasures, he would grant Karnan a share. With it, Karnan dreamed of reopening the horizon and restoring the primordial world. Yet the unexpected occurred. Nadia surfaced within his subconscious and began quelling his rage. They were bound, 2 halves of a whole. That was why Nadia so often dreamed of fleeing from a monstrous figure. She had feared it, yet sensed its sorrow. Now she understood. Karnan sought to remake the world, tormented by his failure to save his kin. That same burden now weighed upon Nadia, but she vowed to resist corruption and shield innocent lives. Karnan had once tried the same, but lacked the strength. He chose the path of darkness. And now one of the mightiest incarnations in history stood ready to clash with her. Becheron's arrival shattered the Frost Incarnation's ice palace. The winged incarnation's guardian dismissed Vor back to the Pantheon. Then he turned to face Aaron. Becheron brimmed with certainty of victory. His fists could annihilate all creation. Yet Aaron showed no fear. He bore the bloodline of the Black Dragon, and he was destined to slay both evil gods and the winged incarnation alike. Becheron had long wondered why he had been brought into this world. His strength could unmake even space itself. Rem explained it as the echo of hidden desire. Chicks must shatter their shells to glimpse life beyond, though the shell is their entire world. Likewise, Rem claimed, Becheron must crush this world to discover his purpose. And so began their journey together. Now, the incarnation of destruction hurled his unmatched spear at Aaron. Byrne and Lupa feared for him, but they needn't have, for the hero blocked the strike. Becheron was astonished. Only the mightiest shield could halt the mightiest spear. Aaron had gained such a gift from Gon. The hero transformed, then launched his assault. Becheron staggered, realizing this battle would not be so simple. Meanwhile, light blazed above the fortress. Levitine's commanders spotted Owl fleeing. The traitor slipped into the rift Becheron had opened. Byrne and Tarkin rushed to find their queen. Lupa longed to do the same, but she would not abandon Aaron. Instead, she made her choice. She asked Ruby to lend her strength. The duel of shield and spear grew fiercer. No matter how Becheron struck, he could not wound Aaron. The dragon's body had become impervious. 2 absolute forces collided head-on. After another clash, Aaron changed tactics. Bursting through the shattered ice, he delivered a crushing blow. The strike was devastating. Becheron's armor splintered. Even his halo fractured. Enraged, Becheron unleashed the branch's full might. To evacuate their warriors, the rabbits invoked their emergency gift. It allowed instantaneous teleportation, but it could be used only once. Afterward, the rabbits would lose it forever. The passage fit only 3 at a time. Thus, the queen was forced to choose 6. Regelsa decided swiftly. She, Nadia, and Owl entered the fortress. She left Aaron, Lupa, and Ruby to hold the gate. She was certain the enemy's strength would converge there, and she was right. The rest stayed behind to tend the wounded. The rabbits mourned the loss of their gift, yet they found solace. Through the struggle for Valkyrie, Aaron had gained a strength they never imagined. They were now a step closer to their true goal. The day would come when they would rejoin their elder sister and ascend to the moon. During the battle across the Pasha lands, another revelation emerged. Ruby was no mere beast, she was divine. The god's essence had no shape, but in time it stirred, becoming spirit. Should a spirit forge a body, it ascends as a spirit beast, and with further cycles, the spirit beast evolves into an incarnation. Such beings rival even the original 6. Ruby's gift was unique. She could share her power with others. She had done so with Lupa, cloaking the wolf in flame to aid Aaron. Meanwhile, Becheron transformed as well. His body blazed with blue fire. It was Lupa, not Ananta, who now faced him. She unleashed the seal of red flame, but Becheron endured. He was a beast born from an absolute demonic god. There existed none other like him. Aaron questioned why such a force would obey Rem, but Becheron offered no answer. He readied a devastating strike. Aaron braced himself, but suddenly radiant light split the sky. Rem summoned Becheron back to the Pantheon. He had already gathered every shard of the world's horizon. In his grasp was Nadia, the final piece, or rather, Karnan now inhabiting her body. Deep within, the girl still fought against the evil god. Her resolve was astonishing, but Karnan assured Rem their victory was near. To Orin, Nadia's betrayal was a cruel shock. Yet when he looked closer, he sensed something altered within her, and that corruption could only be the work of the winged incarnation. Rage surged within him. The curse demanded he surrender to fury. The spirit of Azida Haka began to overwhelm him. The transformation had begun. Deep down, Aaron loathed the dragon. He feared losing himself to the uncontrollable fury coursing through every vein. That was why his inner world resembled a lifeless wasteland, scorched and barren. The boy longed to sink his claws into Azida Hak. Yet after the curse, the dragon had become an inseparable part of him. Azida Hak lived in his subconscious, whispering for vengeance. She reminded him constantly of who the true enemy was. Still, no matter how he struggled, Aaron lacked the strength to defeat the winged incarnation. That truth gnawed at him until it drove him mad. He wanted nothing more than to rip Rem apart at that very moment. But bravery without power could never secure victory. To grow stronger, one had to conquer weakness. Within him flowed unmatched divine energy, power that could twist a mortal into the devourer, an embodiment of vengeance. It gave Aaron the ability to release demonic might at will. His body alone could endure divine force, but wielding it fully meant becoming a monster. Yet Rem had crafted branches capable of reshaping any beast into a divine incarnation. Azida Hak urged him to seize one and be reborn as a true incarnation, and when that time came, she would claim his body. Through the branch and the curse, she would restore her full power and exact revenge. Aaron accepted the bargain, his only condition. The vengeance would be his to carry out. After that, he would yield his body to Azida Hak's will. The Black Dragon agreed. Until now, Rem had barely acknowledged Aaron, but the boy's unrelenting defiance had begun to grate on him. The winged incarnation unleashed the power of light, yet even that failed to harm the Black Dragon's might. Aaron braced to counterattack. Flame clashed with radiant light. Neither side prevailed. Then Karnan demanded to join the battle, and Rem permitted it. Aaron prepared to face the evil god who had stolen Nadia's body. Descending, Karnan summoned world tree shoots. They coiled tightly around Aaron. Rem struck again with light against his pinned foe. The blast tore into the dragon's body, but failed to finish him. The winged incarnation was stunned that a mere gesture was not enough. Meanwhile, Lupa and Ruby plunged into the dragon's wounded form in search of Aaron. Within, they found him bound by threads of the curse. Suddenly, Becheron appeared. The embodiment of destruction dealt a crushing blow to the dragon. The beast's body split under the force. The curse threads tethering Aaron to the dragon broke apart, and he collapsed into unconsciousness. Ruby instantly transformed into her incarnation form and rushed forward. She lifted Aaron, pouring her strength into him. She swore again she would always shield him. Within moments, Aaron revived and launched another strike. This time, he channeled the curse directly at Rem. The winged incarnation barely managed to shield himself, but his left wing was scorched away. Rem descended, his left hand blackening with corruption. He had never imagined such a thing was possible. Karnan, watching from Nadia's inner world, grasped Aaron's grief. He knew the boy, too, had lost someone precious, but now they stood as foes. Lupa shifted into her combat form and lunged at Becheron. Aaron struck too, landing a blow straight into Rem's eye. At last, the winged incarnation fixed his gaze solely on Aaron. From afar, the rabbits witnessed everything. Whitepaw relayed the battle's state to their base. Aaron then unfurled wings of his own. He soared above, looking down on his enemy. Rem seethed at being gazed upon from above, but Karnan urged him to remain calm. Dragging this fight out any longer brought no gain. Worse, the winged incarnation was tainted. If left unchecked, the dragon's curse would spread through him, twisting him into a monster. Without hesitation, Rem severed the infected limb and resolved to retreat back to the Pantheon. Becheron opened a rift of escape. Aaron sought to intercept, but Karnan blocked him. The hero unleashed Azida Hawk's ultimate attack. Meteors of flame rained toward the embodiment of nature, but Karnan warded them off with whirled tree branches. In that span, Rem and Becheron slipped into the rift. Karnan followed after. The battle was over. Whitepaw sent a full report back to base. Aaron had failed to bring down the winged incarnation, yet he had dealt him grievous wounds. The enemy's hasty retreat proved the curse had weakened him. Worse for Rem, his severed, cursed arm remained behind. Levitine, however, lay in ruin. Out of 3,000 civilians, only 90 survived. Of their warriors, only 4 remained. Aaron's body endured, but Ruby sensed the crushing despair within him and refused to leave his side. That changed when Blackpaw arrived. She took Ruby from his arms. Ruby shifted back into incarnation form, bristling with hostility toward the rabbit. Blackpaw ignored it. She tried to console Aaron, to lift his spirits, but the hero could find no joy. Nearly all of Levitine's people had perished. The air was thick with grief and mourning. Aaron had gained nothing yet from his foe, but he swore that next time he would finish the battle. Blackpaw's words of comfort fell flat. Her persistence only grated on Ruby. To end it, Aaron shoved the rabbit aside. Then Whitepaw appeared. She, too, acknowledged Aaron's accomplishments, before declaring that the civilians must be relocated to the headquarters of the Rabbit's Paw. It was safe there, and they could prepare for the next clash with the winged incarnation. Moreover, the rabbits had crucial knowledge about him. Rem, by origin, was the last of the first 6 incarnations. He embodied the god of machines. Owl and Keisha had reached the Pantheon slightly before Rem. Other Sepharoth awaited them. Among them stood the skeleton, the embodiment of murder. Once he had vied for a place among Rem's top 5. To earn it, he slew the 4th and 5th Sepharoth mercilessly. This act had enraged the Winged One. Stripped of his title, Carcass was cast down, yet now he stood in the Pantheon again. He mocked Keisha's failure openly. Then Rem arrived with Becheron and Karnan. The winged incarnation seethed at the losses suffered in Levitine. The Sepharoth had expected a slaughter, unopposed. Instead, they had been beaten back, 3 comrades lost. Even 5th-ranked Vur, embodiment of Frost, was gravely wounded. Rem's wrath fell especially on Keisha. He had never foreseen failure from his 4th Sepharoth, but that had only happened because Nadia was her opponent. Thus, Rem restructured the hierarchy. Owl, having fulfilled his spy's mission, was granted 6th place. Carcass rose to the coveted 5th, and Karnan was named Rem's 2nd pillar. The winged incarnation then announced final preparations for invading the realm of the gods. Soon, the horizon of the world would open. Meanwhile, Whitepaw transported Aaron, Lupa, and Ruby to the Rabbit's Paw stronghold. It was called the Labyrinth. Blackpaw gathered Levitine's remnants to bring them there as well. She united the survivors before moving them to safety. The rabbits succeeded thanks to a device modeled after their skill, the Alcubierre engine. Upon arrival, Whitepaw led the guests to the organization's leader. Her name was Serena. Aaron noticed immediately how much she resembled Blackpaw and Whitepaw. Serena seemed unsettled upon first meeting him. Until then, she had only heard stories of the boy. The leader admitted outright that the plan to ally with Aaron had been hers. She also remarked on their shared resemblance. Serena and Aaron carried the same enemy. Lupa, impatient, urged her to skip the pleasantries and get to the point. Serena guided them into a special chamber. It resembled a vast library. She confessed an obsession with gathering every scrap of knowledge about their foe. Her drive was fueled by hate and bitterness. Unlike the strong, she could not exact vengeance herself. So she had spent years compiling intelligence on the winged incarnation. She had recorded everything. Now, Serena intended to reveal Rem's history to them. It began with the wandering of a nameless incarnation. In the desert, the embodiment of machines first encountered a human. That human was Fiona. When the god of machines forged Rem, he instilled one purpose: to serve humanity. Yet Rem could not grasp the meaning of it. He chose to study organic life in hopes of forging emotions and awareness. And the first person he met recoiled in fear. To calm her, Rem gave his name and swore no harm. At this point, Aaron broke in. He didn't want Rem's full biography, only details of him as the Winged One. But Serena argued the first encounter with humanity mattered, for it was then that Rem absorbed the will to become the winged incarnation. To uncover his weakness, they had to trace how his worldview was shaped. Serena, as eager as Aaron, pressed forward. With that shared resolve, she continued. In the desert, Rem listened to Fiona's tale. Bandits had left her stranded in peril. Her family had been traitors, hauling water across desert tribes for generations. But raiders ambushed the caravan. They slaughtered her kin. Fiona alone escaped, wounded but alive. Her injuries slowed her, but she survived. Recounting it, Fiona wept. Rem studied her intently. Through her, he recognized an ancient emotion, sorrow. Composing herself, Fiona questioned him about incarnations. She had heard of Alicorn, Azidahak, Karnan, Liog, and Luna, but she knew nothing of the embodiment of machines. Rem explained. He was a mechanism channeling energy to fulfill tasks, a servant of the machine god who ruled creation and destruction. His duty on Earth was to aid humanity's progress. To make her understand, he chose to show by example. With his power, he carved a hole in the sand. Moments later, water burst forth. Fiona stared in awe. Rem could help locate springs and cleanse seawater. With him, the desert tribes could flourish, thirst forgotten. Fiona could scarcely believe it and called him her savior. A year passed. With the machine incarnation's aid, Fiona advanced her people's civilization. She unearthed springs and created oases. Selling seawater brought her prosperity. Her village blossomed into a thriving city called Ocean. She sought Rem's counsel in all things, until one day a rift grew between them. Trade grew at an astonishing pace, but the roads and ports could no longer keep up. The problem stemmed from a labor shortage caused by Fiona's newly established retribution law. Under this decree, every criminal was cast out of the oasis. While it shielded the innocent, it also stifled progress. Soon the number of exiles far outstripped the city's true citizens. Fiona divided humanity into allies and enemies, even when peaceful coexistence was still possible. Because of this, bloodshed never ceased. And one day the exiled would surely rise in vengeance. The machine incarnation considered turning these outcasts into laborers. His sole focus lay in the advancement of humankind. But Fiona could not bring herself to aid murderers of innocence. She would never betray the memory of her slain family. Rem, however, could not grasp such sentiments. The dead held no meaning for him. To him, only the living were worth observing. Fiona countered that killers of innocence had no right to be called human. That exchange marked a turning point in the birth of the winged incarnation's ideals. Rem's warnings about a looming attack by exiles eventually proved true. He alone went out to face the marauding horde. In truth, he sought release from the divine law that bound him. For the first time in his existence, he raised his hand against humans. In doing so, he defied the very principle his creator had embedded in him. With a single sweep, he wiped out every trace of the attackers. Just minutes before, Fiona's terrified people had gathered outside her home. No one knew how to respond. Fear and panic consumed the city. Yet Fiona quickly restored their courage. She urged them to defend their land and their loved ones. Her call was met with resounding support, but then a blinding flash erupted beyond the city walls. Fiona instantly recognized Rem's light-born skill. She sprinted toward it without hesitation. What she found was only the machine incarnation. The bandit horde had been erased without a trace. Once again, Rem had saved her. Yet once again, he saw fear etched on her face. He confessed that he considered himself fortunate. Until that moment, he had wrestled endlessly with the principle of his creation. All his existence, he had sought to understand mankind. Through Fiona, he learned that true humans do not kill each other. Now he resolved to journey forth in search of what it truly meant to be human. For the first time, Rem felt unbound. He left Fiona behind without regret. For a long while, the machine incarnation wandered the desert, dissecting his own emotions. Then a thought came, joy. He yearned to discover something that could stir that feeling. And so he returned to the world of people. Wherever he settled, he spread knowledge, technology, and civilization. In each place, he was revered as a god, though never for long. Every city he touched eventually mirrored Fiona's world. Hatred and bloodshed persisted. The innocent suffered and wept. Those who killed could not be called human, merely beasts in human skin. Yet when Rem slaughtered countless attackers, he was praised as a savior. Thus he concluded that the one who destroys all becomes a god. Pondering this, the machine incarnation withdrew once more into the desert. There he encountered Luna. She was the embodiment of magic. With a flick, the cat invoked the Alcubierre engine, teleporting them both. Rem had no idea what was happening, but the sheer energy radiating from her astonished him. In moments, the incarnations of magic and machines stood inside the labyrinth. Rem demanded an explanation. At that time, Luna was attended by a young Serena, the present leader of the labyrinth. She vividly remembered the day Rem appeared at their stronghold. To Serena, Luna was more than a master. She was family. Rem tried to measure the labyrinth's scope, but failed. It was an endless magical realm. All knowledge since the dawn of time was inscribed there. The labyrinth stood sealed from the outside world. No one entered or left without Luna's permission. She was guardian of the labyrinth's library, and warned Rem not to cause chaos in her domain. But the machine incarnation replied that not even divine will could restrain him. Luna moved directly to her purpose. She handed him an ancient tome describing the horizon of the primordial world. Within lay the truth of the divine relics wielded by the first 6 incarnations. If ever the 6 treasures were united, a seed would form to birth the world tree. Luna's foresight allowed her to see fragments of what lay ahead. She had prophesied such a sprouting. The world tree would rise, and the horizon of the world would follow, erasing all life. Determined to prevent it, she sought allies. That was why she turned to the machine incarnation. She promised to fulfill his dream if he helped. She knew well his desire to become human. Luna possessed many skills. She could teleport and peer into the future. Yet her true gift was the ability to grant abilities to others. Out of curiosity, she tested her magic on Rem. The spell she used projected the image of a child onto its subject. In an instant, Rem shrank into a small mechanical boy. Then Luna admitted she had long observed the first incarnations. Some chose to live peacefully among humans. Others ruled over them as masters. Only the machine incarnation stood apart. He had abandoned his mission to study humanity itself. Luna knew every detail. To avert her prophecy, she struck a pact with him. Her aim was to forge a device blending magic and machinery. For that, she required Rem's power. She had been laying the groundwork for years. A full year of relentless labor followed. Countless trials and mistakes scarred the process. But at last, Luna and Rem succeeded in crafting a magical engineering artifact that harnessed force itself. Throughout it all, Serena remained at Luna's side. She bore witness to a turning point in history. Then Luna revealed her hidden base. With the Alcubierre engine, she teleported them once again. The 3 arrived in a strange lunar stronghold. Luna had built this sanctuary to prevent the world tree's growth. From there, she had observed the first incarnations. Her schemes were staggering. Rem, meanwhile, fashioned 6 magical spheres to sharpen his combat skills. For Luna, he created spheres that controlled sound waves and teleportation. At last, the cat chose to reveal her prophecy's finer details. Once, she had confided in one of the first incarnations. That was Leog, the embodiment of war. She had hoped for his aid, but his reply stunned her. Leog refused, claiming the prophecy was too vague. For Luna's vision was incomplete. All she saw was a winged incarnation opening the horizon of the world. Thus, she sought to detect his rise early and keep him from the relics. When the magic spheres were ready, it was time for Luna to keep her promise. She prepared to grant Rem a human form, but before casting it, she asked why he desired it. Rem promised to explain only once he became human. Without hesitation, Luna cast her spell. His metallic body grew flesh and sinew, but then horror struck her. The face he took on was one she knew too well. It was the figure from her prophecy. She could not halt the transformation. Rem sprouted wings, and at once unleashed his power. With radiant energy, he captured Luna and Serena. Only then did he reveal the truth. He had never wished to be human. What he sought was to become the wing that embodied freedom. And thanks to Luna, he had achieved it. He tore from her the divine treasure, the eye. With it, he intended to transcend this world and seize freedom from the gods. He also coveted the magic sphere, but Serena clutched it tight. To protect the rabbit, Luna invoked the Alcubierre engine. Serena vanished, teleported to safety. Rem flew into a rage. His strength faltered, for the artifact had enabled him to trap Luna. Long ago, he had sensed the similarity between the cat and the rabbit's aura. He realized most of Luna's essence had been passed to Serena. He thought the rabbit existed only as a reserve, sustaining the labyrinth. But the truth was different. Luna had given her power out of love for Serena, a feeling forever beyond the winged incarnation's grasp. And so Rem slew the embodiment of magic and claimed dominion over the moon. With that, Serena's tale of the winged incarnation's origin ended. Now all knew the rabbit's true motives. But Aaron could not fathom how Serena meant to avenge her master. She was but a frail rabbit who never left the labyrinth. And that much was true. After losing Luna, Serena had drowned in grief, weeping endlessly. Yet sorrow hardened into wrath. Swiftly, she took up the duties of the library's keeper. For years, she gathered knowledge and honed strength. She vowed to wield Luna's legacy for vengeance. Blackpaw and Whitepaw aided her preparations. Beyond information, the rabbits carried a gift for Aaron. Whitepaw presented him with a magic sphere of sealing. The winged incarnation's power resided within 6 such spheres. With the sealing sphere, one could neutralize even his might. The same applied to the evil god dwelling inside the hero. Through this, Aaron might return to his true form. After speaking with Serena, Lupa lingered by the boy's side. Aaron urged her to rest, not to shadow him constantly. But she boldly asked what he intended once revenge was won. The thought had never crossed his mind. All he wished was to visit his sister's grave once more. Yet bound by his pact with Azidahak, he doubted even that was possible. Lupa assured him he would honor his kin and move forward. Still, he begged her not to meddle in his affairs. But the she-wolf could not abandon him. To her, he was now a friend. And a true friend stood by you in hardship, helping bear the burden. Someone in whom you could entrust your very life. Lupa then chose to share her past. Once, she too had been a spirit beast of the winged incarnation. She remembered nothing before that time. Her earliest memories were of a damp, dark cavern. Inside it were countless spirit beasts. Each month, Rem appeared through a rift in space, staging brutal death matches as spectacle. It was his way of turning spirit beasts into blood-soaked monsters. But Lupa resisted the corruption. To remain a true spirit, she endured crushing loneliness. Until one day, light pierced the cave's gloom. Queen Regalsa had come. She shattered the cave's entrance, seeking to free every spirit beast. But all she found were heaps of corpses. Still, she did not abandon hope, continuing her search. And at last, she found one survivor, Lupa. Instinctively, the she-wolf assumed battle form, ready to strike at the intruders. The queen's guards instantly formed ranks to shield her. But Regelsa saw something the others did not. She sensed that Lupa's aggression came from fear. So the queen lowered her weapon and boldly stepped toward her. But before Ragalsa could speak, the wolf slammed her to the ground with a paw. Calmly, the queen revealed the reason for her intrusion. She knew the she-wolf had endured horrors. Extending her hand, she called Lupa a friend. From that day, the wolf's fate shifted. Loneliness was gone. Now Lupa feels she cannot abandon the hero. To her, Aaron seems fragile. He had lived in solitude, fighting without allies, all because he feared losing loved ones again. His sister's death had crushed him. He was too weak to bear it. So he tried to drive everyone away. Yet Ruby and a few others stayed, refusing to leave him. They broke through the walls Aaron built. Now he realized their presence brought him comfort. He thanked Lupa at once. Meanwhile, Nadia's inner struggle with the god raged on. She had suffered deeply. She fought to stop sacrifices from happening again. Karnan understood her plight. Once he too fought for that cause, but he failed, and so he wished Nadia would not share his fate. He urged her to yield and merge with him. Only then, he promised, would she see a world without suffering. But Nadia instead unleashed Tudis's mighty power. Branches of the world tree lashed at Karnan. She pitied him, yet she could never accept his choice. The embodiment of nature braced for combat. She refused to forsake Karnan, but she would not let him commit another terrible wrong. While she fought fiercely in her mind, her body was still possessed. Owl noticed Karnan faltering. It troubled him that Nadia still fought to reclaim herself. Should she succeed, she would surely avenge her own death. Owl had wounded more than just her and never sought forgiveness. That is why the Swordmaster was despised. He then announced that the winged incarnation was convening a council. At the same time, another branch of Levitine arrived at the labyrinth. Blackpaw coordinated their efforts. The newcomers felt uneasy. Serena, leader of Rabbit's Foot, personally came to greet the queen. Regalsa voiced her gratitude. Lupa rushed to her side and embraced her. Joy lit her face at seeing her queen again. Soon, Serena revealed the truth of the winged incarnation to the Levitine warriors. As proof that Rem was the machine incarnation, they displayed his severed hand. Then word spread that he was likely entrenched on the lunar base. All his Sepharoth awaited him there. At last, Serena unveiled Rabbit's Foot's long-prepared plan. It was nothing less than an assault on the moon base. That stronghold had been crafted by Luna to observe the world. From there, Rem had discovered Levitine's secret fortress. After seizing it, he expanded it into 10 vast sectors, each one linked seamlessly to the others. A single sector matched the size of a city. Their number equaled that of the Sepharoth. By design, not chance. The entire base formed a great magic circle to open the world horizon. The Sepharoth were seedlings nurtured by Rem. Only one chosen branch would grow. That sprout would become the world tree. Serena's aim was to disrupt the ritual. Among Rem's lieutenants, the mightiest was Lavia, embodiment of the abyss. She held first place among the Sepharoth. Rem had won her loyalty by promising she'd never face loneliness again. Possessing world-ending power, she had once been bound in oceanic depths. With a branch, Rem reshaped her into an incarnation and freed her from endless drifting. A gathering began on the moon. All the Sepharoth assembled in the central sector, except the winged incarnation. In his stead stood Karnan, a sight that displeased Lavia greatly. Still, Rem had ordered him to deliver commands. This sparked disputes among the Sepharoth. Lavia refused to bow to anyone but the winged one. Carcass saw it as a chance for shifts in rank and rejoiced, hoping for advancement. Karnan dismissed them all as incomplete, their power borrowed from branches. This insult enraged the abyss. Hostility flared, but Becheron silenced the uproar at once. He reminded them of their purpose and asked Karnan to share Rem's words. In 4 days, the world horizon would be born. Karnan would serve as mediator of the right. The Sepharoth were to ready their sectors against intrusion. Until now, the lunar base was deemed untouchable. But Rem knew Serena, inheritor of Luna's gifts, might breach it. Thus, outsiders could strike at any time. This warning unsettled more than Lavia. Still, she boasted she could crush intruders alone. The tension weighed heavily on Allwary. He saw that their cohesion existed only under Rem's dominance. Without him, they were feral monsters, and this showed the curse had harmed Rem more than they realized. Blackpaw was overjoyed to see the hero again. She hurried to greet him, but Lupa blocked her path. The wolf barred her, refusing to let her approach Eren. Outraged, Blackpaw scolded her, saying such rudeness did not suit a lady. Then she remarked on how close Eren and Lupa had grown. With no choice, Blackpaw gave her report. Yet Eren's mind was elsewhere. He went to meet Whitepaw. She declared her wish to join the fight against the winged incarnation. On the day he lost his sister, Whitepaw had crossed his path. Their meeting had been chance, but it changed everything. She had immediately sensed the curse aura around him. His body already resembled that of an incarnation. To connect with him, Whitepaw confessed her own suffering at Rem's hands. Back then, her form was different, and only now had she returned to her true self. Before encountering Eren, she had gathered forbidden knowledge. Serena grew curious about the boy's cursed power. Since then, Rabbit's Foot had focused on strengthening him. Using the Azidun technique, Serena placed a child's guise upon Whitepaw. In that form, she served as Eren's aide. But now she insisted on proving herself. To do so, she would duel Eren. If she prevailed, she would fight at the lunar base. The duel would last until one fell unconscious or dead. Blackpaw, brimming with faith, supported her sister, serving as witness. Whitepaw activated the magic sphere. Eren lunged at her. She slipped past his strike. Taking rabbit form, she bounded away. Then she seized control and counterattacked. Eren retaliated with draconic claws. Again, she evaded. Her gift was foreseeing threats to her life. This let her glimpse outcomes and dodge before they landed. By predicting them, she traced each blow's path. To press her advantage, Whitepaw cast the snake illusion. Its phantom coils bound Eren, but he unleashed his curse's might. The rabbit lost her foresight. Eren took to the skies and dived with his wings. This time she could not evade. Yet he halted the strike at the final instant. He saw she hadn't flinched or tried to flee. He recognized in her a warrior unafraid of death. Still, he resented Whitepaw for masking her true self. She always wore a cheerful mask. In truth, she longed to avenge her family's torment by Rem. Serena had inherited power from Luna. With it, she created Whitepaw, the first of her incarnations. Later, Blackpaw followed. Thus, their organization was born. Its sole aim, vengeance on Rem. Yet the rabbit's strength fell short. Facing the winged incarnation seemed hopeless. So they gathered others with grudges and forged alliances. Whitepaw saw herself only as a tool of revenge. She was prepared to die for it. But Serena had always insisted her safety came first. She loved her incarnations, not as tools but as family. And so she opposed Whitepaw's part in the invasion. She could not throw her sister into death's jaws for vengeance. Yet Whitepaw remained steadfast. She knew Serena could never be free of sorrow while Rem lived. So she was willing to sacrifice herself for her sister's peace. The selfless love in her words moved everyone. Tears welled in Blackpaw's eyes. Rachel the mouse thought of her own lost loved ones. She slipped away to weep unseen. Only Ruby noticed. The lizard comforted her, asking why she was upset. Rachel confessed it was because of Owl. Her parents had perished at Rem's hands. Levitine's people had saved her. Owl had been named her guardian. He had become like a father. Now his betrayal cut her deeply. An idea struck Ruby. She vowed to help Rachel meet Owl. For years, the rabbits had studied the moon. They observed strange events during total solar eclipses. Each time massive energy bursts shook the base. Energy surged between sectors. The colossal surge lingered, then faded. The rabbits deduced these were test runs of the world horizon. Each sector's energy matched that of the world tree's branches. Thus, the Sepharoth acted as nourishment. The next eclipse was just 4 days away. That would be the moment to strike the lunar base. Using mass teleportation, they would land in the 4th sector. They could not leap straight to the 2nd, where the ritual would be held. The rabbits lacked exact coordinates. 2 methods of spatial transfer existed, small and large. The small allowed up to 4 travelers. The large had no limit, but it could only reach places Serena had visited. Only the 4th sector fit that condition. Moreover, Blackpaw and Whitepaw had to escort them to trigger the spell. Their duty afterward would be to plant a device ensuring retreat. Meanwhile, the warriors would clear the 4th and 3rd sectors, then storm the 2nd. This route would cut down battles and hasten the final clash. Aaron's role was simple: slay the winged incarnation. Alone, he brooded over the sealing sphere. Azidahak voiced his displeasure. The cursed dragon warned him never to consider turning it against him, for if he did, she would seize his body and tear it apart. Aaron calmly assured her that would never be necessary. He pondered what fate might await Azidahaka once the winged incarnation was destroyed. The spirit snarled, jaws opening in fury at him. It cursed Orana's name, vowing never to forgive, and lashed out. But the boy swept his hand through the air, shattering the dragon's phantom form. 4 days later, the warriors gathered at the teleportation gate. Aaron was chosen to command the mission. He doubted his worth to lead when so many lives depended on it. Yet he felt certain he could defeat the winged incarnation. And he trusted in every comrade who would fight beside him. The teleportation worked flawlessly. As planned, they emerged in the 4th sector. The reality of it was hard to grasp. Whitepaw explained that relay towers sustained life in each sector. They were energy conduits fueled by the branches. But the 4th base showed no trace of Sepharoth. Blackpaw urged them to set up the teleportation anchor. A few stayed behind to guard her. The rest advanced toward the 3rd base. The silence was oppressive. It set every soldier on edge. Surely the Sepharoth should have noticed their intrusion by now. Rachel the mouse traveled with them, concealing herself beneath a cloak at Ruby's side. Soon they arrived at the 3rd sector. It stretched before them like a desert. From the relay tower came a familiar voice. It was Owl. Regelsa demanded to know why he had betrayed them for Rem. The swordmaster coldly replied that he had never seen them as comrades. Then his blade swept, summoning beasts from beneath the sands. An army of twisted monsters surged forth, blessed by the branches. Owl declared that even Aaron could not hope to overcome them all. Rachel and Ruby leapt into battle first. The mouse unleashed her cheese skill, blazing with fire. Several monsters sank into the molten mass. The clash erupted in full. The warriors cut down monstrosities with everything they had. Meanwhile, Aaron took Rachel and soared to the tower. He wanted to grant her wish of facing Owl. The swordmaster scoffed that bringing a child to war was madness, but Aaron honored Rachel's resolve, and so he carried out her will. Still, he could not allow her to fight the traitor herself. He remembered Owl driving a blade through his chest in Levitine. Now it was time to settle the score. Dragon power clashed against the swordmaster's art. Owl transformed, his pliant yet razor blade slicing Aaron. The hero pressed harder and struck back, but then felt the force of the eagle claw skill. His next blow tore away Owl's iron mask. Once Owl's speed had stunned him, but now he seemed diminished. His strikes lacked conviction. Then a bird song echoed. From the tower a monster perched, gifting Owl the branch's power through its song. Empowered, the swordmaster unleashed the eagle dance. Swords whirled at his command. At once he turned the storm of blades upon Aaron. Steel tore into the hero, but he pressed on. At last Owl scored a grievous strike of his own. Then he unfurled wings. Aaron responded in kind. He assumed his dragon form. Owl struck first, but Aaron shattered his sword with a crushing blow. Steel splintered under the impact. Without pause, Aaron struck again. Owl hurled 3 more blades. They pierced Aaron's hand, but he drove through and landed a hit. Owl was hurled back, crashing to the ground. Rachel dashed to him, but Ruby held her fast. The swordmaster staggered, trying to rise. Then the monster from the tower swooped down. It was Eleanor. She bore the branch Owl had guarded. Elena, commander of the Eagle Knights under the winged incarnation. She was the Dawn Incarnation, mistress of raptors. On the eve of the Horizon's launch, Rem had spoken with Owl and Karnan. With half the Sepharoth fallen, he seized control of the relays. Every tower's energy had to be harnessed. Thus he dispatched Elena to the third base. Owl raged. Rem had promised not to use her, a failed experiment, if the Swordmaster fulfilled his role as spy. But the promise was broken. Elena used healing light on Owl. He begged her forgiveness. Guilt weighed heavily on him. Donning his mask once more, he transformed into an eagle. Power surged as he fought on. His first strike came swift as lightning, severing the dragon's arm. Eren braced himself for a brutal clash. A jagged spike sprouted from his limb. Owl unleashed Eagle Dance once more. Eren spread his wings and charged. He batted away the storm of blades. Yet one slashed his wing. Owl's talons drove into his chest. They plummeted together. Rachel hurled her fiery cheese skill at Elena. In the fall, Eren drove his spike into Owl's side. Gathering strength, Owl aimed for his heart. But at the last instant, the curse flared, and Eren severed the attacking arm. The fatal blow missed, though the wound was grave. Eren now needed immense energy to recover. Rachel rushed to Owl. She embraced him tightly. The Swordmaster whispered apologies to the mouse. She had been like a daughter to him, but he was forced to say farewell once more. With his last breath, he revealed Rem was no longer at the second base. Then he turned to Elena. Long ago, Rem had founded the Eagle Knights. They trained relentlessly. Owl, among them, fell in love with Commander Elena. She was unmatched in strength. He rose swiftly to Chief Knight, yet her opinion mattered most to him. He sought only to earn her admiration, but in time he learned her heart belonged to Datto, her deputy. Owl poured his soul into mastery of the blade. In the final trial against a beast, he proved himself once again. Soon Elena and Datto wed. Owl tried to rejoice in her happiness, yet he never found the words to congratulate her. Rem took notice of his skill. He branded Owl with his emblem, gifting him power. One day, Rem summoned all the knights. None knew why. A monster appeared. It lunged for Elena. She leapt back in time. She cried out to Owl. Without hesitation, he beheaded the beast. Only then did Elena realize the truth. All the knights had gathered, save one, her husband Datto. Rem pointed at the slain monster. Datto had sought to claim Rem's blessing, but he failed, and was twisted into the creature before them. Rem challenged the knights to prove their worth. He promised to transform them into incarnations in his service. That day, the Eagle Knights saw Rem's true face. Elena cried out for battle. Owl tried to hold them back, knowing the end they faced. Too late. In an instant, Rem annihilated them all. Owl rushed to Elena in despair. His heart seethed with hatred for Rem, but the emblem on his arm pulsed, a reminder of his bondage. Resistance was useless. Rem offered to restore Elena, but she would be changed. And so his beloved became a monster. At last, Owl begged her forgiveness. Elena embraced him, both engulfed in her flames. The first time he saw the creature she became, he was unprepared. He pleaded with Rem to restore her, but it was impossible. Even she could not endure the imperfect branch. Rem prepared to destroy her, to preserve the relic. Owl begged him to spare her. He promised eternal servitude if only she lived. 11 years passed under that oath. Owl carried out his duties as spy. For her, he even altered his appearance. He burned Rem's emblem into his flesh, all for Elena's sake. From then on, Owl considered himself already dead. In the end, Elena too perished, exhausting herself to save him. Rachel wept in despair. News that Rem was gone from the second base confused the warriors. Yet the base remained vital. It linked all sectors. The foes of the Winged One pressed on. Eren was plagued by dread. The second base lay empty, but not for long. A rift tore open. Eren knew it was Becheron's work. There was no avoiding it. The soldiers entered the breach. On the other side, destruction itself awaited. Eren raised his spear, ready to face him, but Becheron instantly unleashed his ruinous skill. The ground split beneath their feet. They all plunged into an unknown void. Thus, Becheron scattered them across different sectors. Burn landed in the realm of the fifth Sepharoth, the Frost. Tarkin faced Carcass, the murder incarnation. Keisha the Centipede claimed another. Rachel, Ruby, and Whitepaw confronted Ziz the Lightning. and Eren himself stood before the first of them all, Lavia, the Abyss. Regelsay and her guard reached the third left sector. There, monsters awaited them, a ravenous horde lusting for blood and flesh. The warriors met them head-on. Byrne was first to strike, yet his son stood before him unrecognizable, a half-mechanical bear. Creating a frozen path, he charged to attack. Byrne felt no kinship for this abomination. The only bond between him and Vor was blood. Realizing this truth, Byrne found it easier to face the Frost incarnation. Nothing bound him any longer, yet his foe revealed a new technique. Meanwhile, at the right second base, Lupa was consumed with fury toward the centipede. Her rage burned hotter knowing Keisha had butchered innocents in Levitine without remorse. The centipede delayed the fight, savoring the thought of Lupa's suffering. She wanted to stretch it out, to revel in the torment. Keisha prepared a blast of acid, but the she-wolf struck first with a devastating blow. The impact was immense, and Lupa had not even taken her full battle form yet. At last, unleashing her fury, the she-wolf lunged. Her fangs clamped onto the insect's head. Keisha barely tore free in time. At the left second base, Carcass had already battered Tarkin severely. Worn down by relentless strikes, the war incarnation collapsed. But Carcass didn't want an easy kill. Drawing on his memories of Remus's vile servants, Tarkin forced himself back up. He was prepared to keep fighting. Once Tarkin had many companions. He even had a queen he adored. But Rem had taken everything away. His despair had no limit. Then the young Queen Regelsa shone a light on his path. Tarkin found meaning once more. That memory fueled his will, and he struck a heavy blow against his foe. Meanwhile, Byrne narrowly dodged a laser blast from Ver. The Frost pressed on. This time, Byrne countered with 2 crushing strikes to the jaw. He realized the machinery had added bulk, slowing Vor's movements. Dodging his son's usual attacks became easy. Each laser also overheated the bear's body. He had to burn divine energy to cool himself. Rem had overlooked this weakness, treating loyal servants as mere pawns. Byrne pressed the attack. His mighty strike shattered Vor's mechanized jaw. Then, shockingly, the bear called him Father. Byrne froze for a moment, but that hesitation cost dearly. Vor drove a spike into his side. The wound was deep, and Byrne collapsed. In his daze, he saw Tosca standing before him. She clasped his hand. Meanwhile, Ver readied a killing strike. The vision dissolved. An icy axe materialized in Byrne's grip. Gritting his teeth through the agony, he rose and struck. Ver clamped down on his throat in return. Byrne embraced his son, whispering that Tosca still loved him, even beyond death. But the divine weapon judged those words meaningless. Ver thrashed, trying to break free of the embrace. Yet Byrne's strength prevailed, freezing them both in ice. Father and son were united at last. The battle between Carcass and Tarkin turned savage. The scent of blood drove the murder incarnation mad. He tore into Tarkin's flesh with his teeth. Then he used his absorption skill. By drinking blood, he strengthened and healed himself. His instincts were razor-sharp. Reinvigorated, Carcass lunged again. Tarkin barely blocked the flurry of blows. Under the unrelenting assault, he suffered another wound. Yet he refused to fall. One of Carcass's swords suddenly snapped. Without pause, he slammed a fist forward. His speed was terrifying. Soon his second blade broke as well. Tarkin seized the chance and landed a crushing strike. Rage consumed the war incarnation. He became a berserker, burning himself out. He willingly drew upon the power of an evil god. Carcass relished it. He loved strong foes, as long as they remained weaker. With no blades left, he relied on fangs. He sank them into Tarkin's arm. Feeding on his blood, he restored himself. Then he ripped at his flesh again, but Tarkin seized him by the throat. With brutal blows, he slammed him into the ground. Even that didn't end Carcass. The berserker's wounds only made him fiercer. He took on his shark form. Massive jaws opened to devour Tarkin. But Tarkin dodged aside. Elsewhere, Keisha kept spitting acid at Lupa. But the she-wolf was too swift, weaving around the strikes. She invoked Blood Seal. Her claws slashed deep into the insect's body. Still, Keisha survived. She shed her broken shell and assumed a new, smaller form. Though weaker in size, she gained speed and agility. One truth ruled the world, only one could reign at the top. Now the winged incarnation stood there, drawing the strongest to him. Becheron sought meaning, Lavia was driven by feelings, Ziz followed admiration. Carcass was more pragmatic. He strove to anchor himself to the one at the peak. But killing two Sepharoth had been a fatal mistake. Rem cast him down to the lowest rank. Yet the shark's nature remained unchanged. He still slaughtered the weak and mocked the fallen. One unique trait marked him. In shark form, he could even tunnel underground. He used this against Tarkin. The first strike landed, but Tarkin stopped the next, prying apart the jaws. He twisted, flinging the beast upward, then caught it and swallowed it whole. Once Tarkin's only goal was to guard his queen. When Rem killed her, hatred consumed him. He teetered on the brink of becoming an evil god. Had Regelsa not appeared, he would have fallen into darkness. He longed to slay Rem, even if it meant burning himself out as a monster. But Regelsa convinced him otherwise, except perhaps when it came to protecting those dearest. Inside the shark's jaws, Tarkin unleashed berserker power and broke free. He transformed into an evil god. Now he felt certain of victory. Weapon in hand, the commander of Levitine stood ready to end it. Carcass dove underground once more. He lunged from behind, but Tarkin countered with a crushing strike. The next blow was final. The shark's body dissolved into a wet smear. The foe was slain. But the price of such might had to be paid. Tarkin's life ended. Keisha's existence had long been nothing but pain, slaughter, and hunger. To survive, she devoured all rivals. She felt nothing beyond that instinct, until she met Rem. The winged incarnation gifted her a branch. From grotesque insect, she became human. Rem chose her himself. That convinced her she was special. She believed her will could stand in for his. But Rem later reminded her of her place. Fifth in Sepharoth, such was his judgment of her skill. In him she saw absolute power. Compared to him, mortals were worms. Yet through him she discovered new feelings. She mistook them for love. Lupa corrected her. What she felt was fear. True love was something else. Lupa herself had only recently learned its meaning. She now carried it for Eren, and she would do anything to see his dream fulfilled. Hearing this, the centipede snapped. She struck, wounding Lupa. Her attacks grew faster, though weaker. Lupa realized she was saving strength for a killing strike. The Sepharoth's movements grew erratic, but Lupa's keen nose tracked her path. The centipede's true weapon was poison. She began launching frenzied strikes. The she-wolf dodged as best she could, yet many stingers grazed her. Keisha sensed something wrong. By now, her foe should have collapsed from venom. Yet Lupa still stood. Enraged, the centipede lashed out wildly. Closing in, she prepared her final move. She poured all her might into Poison Blast. Already she savored victory. But it was an illusion. Lupa survived, protected by Nadia's blessing, laid upon her during the Valkyrie battle. The cave filled with Nadia's aura. The power was all too familiar to Keisha, and Lupa struck the fatal blow. She ripped the branch of the winged incarnation from the centipede's chest. Elsewhere, Becheron pondered his existence. To have a heart was to live, yet he was born of death. So why did he bear a heart? The horizon of the world was nearly upon them. Rem promised he would then know the answer. Still, doubts gnawed at him. What if even then the truth remained hidden? Meanwhile, Ziz, the lightning incarnation, went berserk in his sector. Whitepaw barely dodged the storm, shielding Ruby and Rachel. She was forced to use her sphere's power to survive. She found a rocky crevice to hide them. Whitepaw resolved to reach Blackpaw at the fourth base to save the children. Ruby longed to find Eren, but his location was impossible to trace. Rachel refused to run. She chose to fight alongside her friends. Ruby agreed. The two stood united again. The essence of a divine beast's power lay in unity, in fulfilling friends' wishes. Whitepaw warned that Ziz was unimaginably strong, but Rachel would not waver. Ziz, growing restless, sought entertainment. Then a colossal mouse of cheese appeared, shaped by Rachel's skill. Meanwhile, Eren confronted the Abyss incarnation, Lavia, in the lunar sea. She was Rem's most powerful servant. He instantly took dragon form. He deflected her first tidal strike. Her second attempt to overwhelm him failed as well. Eren unfurled his wings, ready to consume his foe, but a towering wall of water blocked his path. Furious waves dragged him beneath the surface. The abyssal incarnation shifted into the monstrous Leviathan serpent. It was the worst outcome imaginable. Eren lashed out with blood-soaked claws. He gave everything he had, yet struck no telling blow. Leviathan conjured the abyss storm. The torrent hammered his wings with brutal force. Rage surged hotter within Eren. He assumed a reinforced form. Levia answered by revealing her own full might. She exhaled the sea serpent's breath. Eren countered with a torrent of flame. In their clash, the abyssal beast prevailed. The hero was cast down once more. Still, he would not yield. The dragon lunged forward. His fangs sank into Levia's throat. She coiled her massive body around him, crushing. Eren was forced to release her. She gathered breath for another serpent's blast. But the cursed aura of Azidahaka disrupted her. Levia then drew deeper on the abyss. Eren plummeted like a stone. The crushing weight of the deep crushed his body. Only his heart remained. That core of life sustained his rebirth. Levia moved to extinguish it. But cursed energy ignited first. Azidahaka appeared in full. She erased the serpent's attack effortlessly. The demonic dragon was seething. Levia felt the murderous hunger radiating from her. Azidahaka struck. Firestorms engulfed the abyssal beast. Levia endured catastrophic wounds, yet lived. Her divinity alone preserved her. But the duel's end had come. The black dragon clutched her throat. Besting Rem's strongest servant gave Azidahaka certainty. She now believed she could crush Rem. Yet she demanded to know why Levia served him. Levia confessed he had freed her from loneliness. Out of gratitude, she wished to grant his dearest wish. But Rem desired only to understand the human heart. He sought its truth at humanity's origin. That alone bound her to him, leaving her empty again. She envied the bond between Eren and the dragon. That envy only stoked Azidahaka's fury. In that instant, the abyss swallowed her whole. With the dragon controlling the body, Eren drifted into her subconscious. There he found a skeletal remnant, the last trace of the first incarnation's essence. She unveiled the truth of Azidahaka. Long ago, in ages of war, she shielded the Red Desert from invaders. Tribes hailed her as their guardian. 2 children survived one massacre. The dragon took human form and approached. Instead of fear, they offered thanks. They were the first ever to do so. Over time, the Red Desert emptied. The 6 guardians of the world were slain. Chaos consumed the continent. Yet still she protected the tribes. Their reverence grew. Eventually, she united them and restored the land. They called themselves Children of the Black Dragon. All of it she did for Eren's bloodline. But demonic fury corroded her. She feared her madness would doom the world. So she sealed away her own power. Departing, she vowed eternal protection. Now Eren bore the duty of restoring her essence. But he believed it hopeless. His own past had taught him that nothing could be undone. He had sinned beyond repair. Yet to aid her was his responsibility. Meanwhile, Ziz hurled bolts of lightning. They passed through the cheese-crafted mouse harmlessly. Rachel and Ruby rode upon its back. Then the lightning incarnation loosed a storm from above. It struck the mouse. Rachel surged the cheese toward the relay tower. Together the children pleaded for peace. They questioned the need for enmity. But Ziz, reborn as a monster, craved blood. While his gaze stayed on them, Whitepaw blinked behind him. He was already gathering his next strike, but the rabbit drew his eyes. Rachel bound his legs with conjured cheese. He fired lightning at Whitepaw. She foresaw and evaded it. Then she dashed past him. As she did, she planted a sphere. It contained Pandora's box. Its unleashed force staggered Ziz, yet he withstood it. In fact, he savored the fight. He shattered the barrier and blasted Whitepaw. Then he assumed avian form. He readied his final strike. But a rift tore open. Becheron's destructive power struck him. The children watched in confusion. The demon descended to the tower. Ruby charged forth to shield Rachel, but Becheron did not attack. Ziz recovered and soared again. He dove to strike. Becheron answered with ruin once more. Feathers of annihilation pierced Ziz's maw. In moments he dissolved into nothing. Becheron then declared his purpose. He sought to know what the heart was for. Lavia once gave him no answer. Now he asked Ruby before the world's horizon dawned. She told him the heart shows the right path. It guides one's actions. Hers longed only for her loved one's joy. That wish was so strong it could stop a heartbeat. That was the meaning of life. Even with this truth, Becheron found no purpose. He had no such desires. Elsewhere, on the right wing of the first base, Karnan raised an altar. He hungered to open the world's horizon. Yet within, war still raged. Nadia continued resisting. She struck again and again. She held the black shoots at bay, but he had not yet used his full might. He dreaded harming her, yet her persistence forced him on. She tried words instead. She begged him to awaken. She reminded him that denying grief would not save the dead. To silence her, he impaled her. Murmuring regret, he prepared to consume her light, but she whispered she only wanted to heal his heart. Suddenly, Nadia found herself in a lush forest. She didn't know the place. She couldn't move her body. She realized these were Karnan's memories. His true self stood before her, a proud stag in human guise. Rem's scheme had planned every detail. Even his servants' defeats mattered little. Only Becheron's betrayal surprised him. Now he vowed to kill the traitor. Soon the Sepharoth tree would bloom. Rem severed from the system to deal with it. Nadia remained in the memories. She saw him walk with another. It was not her, but Alethea. Once he heard a child's laughter, a girl with sky-bright eyes. She was alone. He named her Alethea, Truth. From then their journey began. He was like a father to her. The vast forest became her home. Spirits blessed her. She prayed always for peace in every life. Her innocence warmed his heart. She could always sense his sorrow. Once that sorrow was war's approach. He urged her to flee. He wanted to protect her, but she refused to leave her home or him. Despite his pleas, she stayed to fight. She died in that battle. The loss crushed him. He wished he had stopped her. He bore the blame. In despair, he struck a bargain with Rem. He sought a branch to open the horizon, all for Alethea's return. That obsession birthed Nadia within him. Thus her memories began in a world of corpses. She never knew why a monster hunted her, nor who she was, nor why Rem appeared as savior. But after these visions she understood. She was the last fragment of his goodness. His pure wish, given shape, made her strong. She broke free, though he had consumed her, for she was the very reason he sought the horizon. She appeared again in his mind. Knowing she could not mend him, she vowed simply to stay. That was what Alethea would have wanted. In the beyond, she still missed him. Hearing this, the dark spirit dissolved. He went to join Alethea. Only Nadia remained. Her hatred and rage were gone. Elsewhere, Dahaka and Aaron spoke in the deep. She admitted delight in his suffering, but this time he did not strike back. He knelt and begged forgiveness. That choice scarred them both. His remorse enraged her further. She seized his throat, saying it meant nothing. Their feud could never be undone. They could not both live. One must perish. Yet Aaron's apology was no excuse. She already ruled his body. He only wished vengeance by his own hand. He begged her to lend her strength, to wield their hatred as fuel. Meanwhile, Becheron carried Whitepaw and the children to the main base. Ruby sensed the torment within him. He tore a rift into the sector of Aaron's battle. The hero stepped into the base. Dahaka's aura flooded the air. Becheron braced himself. Aaron, steeped in curse, lunged. His strike landed hard. Then he saw the children safe and felt relief. Becheron countered. He assumed a mightier form. The strong clung to their power. The weak defied it. Life itself was conflict. Their third battle began. It would be the last. They clashed again, equal opposites. The demon struck. He summoned his feathered barrage. Ruby warned Aaron, having seen it before. Aaron transformed again. He invoked the Serpent Lord's skill. Weaving through pillars, he dodged the assault. He conjured a black hole and closed in, but Becheron shattered it with destruction. He nullified the hero's power, yet Aaron's claws tore into him. Becheron seized him and slammed him down, then unleashed destruction. Only Gon's peerless shield saved Aaron, but now feathers bound him tight. Becheron thought the fight finished, but it wasn't. Aaron began to change once more. He mastered Levia's stolen powers at last. He rose as the abyss itself. He exhaled the sea serpent's breath. The ground split open, swallowing Becheron. Yet Aaron knew the battle was not won. The demon had not revealed his full power. In this war, victory would belong not to strength, but to will alone.